wrist. I never thought it'd be this. I'm jumping out of your arms. I land and fall in the pit. Is this what they call the abyss? I fought and clawed for an inch, turning a miracle mile. I could recall when your lips used to contort into smiles, bright as the sun that's drawn in eclipse. I haven't seen light in a while, hasn't been bright in a while. Wrist.
Back in the motherfucking building.
Very consistent for how we've been.
Yeah, man.
2 weeks in
Now
a
that
row,
life has
basically.
settled down. Life has settled down for you. Life is ramping up for me.
Good luck. Yeah. Hey, I did it all during my process, so.
Yeah. Hey, look. I mean, I kind of thought about it like this. As a guy, you're kind of going through the motions in life a lot. You're going after pursuits like money and shit like that, stuff that's not really that relevant. And then until you meet the girl, then all of a sudden
You're like, oh, there's all this other shit to think about.
Yeah, things that seemed like you really didn't care about or you weren't even striving towards. All of a sudden, your mindset changes to include another person in the equation, and then you start thinking about family, you start thinking about kids. And you're like, oh, wait, what the fuck is money, bro?
That requires more space, too, which requires more money.
Yeah. I'm like, money. Then you start seeing money as a tool rather than as a means to an end. Because I know my whole life, I just saw money as a means to an end. Like, I'm making money for the sake of making money.
Yeah.
There was nothing behind it. Like, okay, I wanted to make more money so I could buy more alcohol and fuck more random bitches. But it wasn't like I wanted to show it off to just sleep with loose women and spend it on them. Like there was nothing. I wasn't doing it to pad my bank or to fucking these honorable reasons that people do it for. I was literally using it to.
No, that's America. That's consumerism. We make money to spend money. That's yeah.
I was using it to be the worst version of myself.
Okay.
That's what I was doing.
All right.
And then you meet someone and then you're like, wait, I could take all this money and I can channel it to more productive means.
Man, I haven't had a tattoo in a lot of years. I want to get more tattoos, but I can't.
Yeah, me too.
I can't because every time I think about it, I'm like, I could spend that on something else. For my house or my future. Like, God damn it.
Dude, if you have a dream of getting tatted, you better do that before you meet the girl. If you're single, get all the tats. Because once you meet the girl, it's not like she's going to tell you not to get the tats, but your mindset is going to shift to where you're not going to want to get the tats yourself because, like you said, you just have bigger priorities.
Yeah, I feel like Alex, you met him at CDW, but I was boys with him at college. I saw him a few weeks ago or a month ago at our fantasy football draft. But he had a new one there, and I mean, it looked awesome. But it was like, settle down yet? You got it? Nope, not yet, not yet. I was like, okay, all right.
Alex is gonna be indefinitely single because he just.
I have so many friends that are perpetually single, and you wonder for the day because I mean, you don't have to settle down with someone. You could go your whole life like that for sure. But I'm curious as to really to the woman that tames them or captures them in their trap.
Yeah. Because that's all pussy is.
So to speak. I need to close my door. Hold on.
Pussy is nothing but a trap. God damn it. Nah, yeah. That's you better close that door for Lydia to hear you and come in here and start throwing motherfucking.
Yep, that's what I was like. Oh shit, the door is wide open. I'm just talking real loud.
Dude. Nah, I mean, I do wonder about those guys, but then there's also the guys that stay single, forever. And I'm not saying that to be happy you need a wife and children, but I am saying life is better with a family and people who love you and who depend on you, who you depend on.
Just a different timeline for everybody too, Well, it didn't used to be that way though. I feel like the timeline used to be very, life expectancy was short back in the day. So people were getting married young, having kids at like fucking 14, 15, 16. I mean, that still happens, but I feel like it's not as common these days that people are getting pregnant that young and having families and like literally settling down with someone when they're 18 years old. Yeah. Because that's why the divorce rate is fucking over 50% now.
Oh, yeah. If I told you that you were going to jump out of a plane and 50% of parachutes don't work, would you jump out that plane? No.
No.
Yeah, people still jump out that fucking plane every day.
But I feel like it's also like people that take their time maybe. And I mean, this is not true for everyone because people maybe find their soulmate or something. But the more time you take to think about it and then you find out what you like and you find someone that fits all those qualities and makes you a better person, it seems to kind of click and fit in. And then you're like, okay, I see the other side of it now. My eyes have been uncovered to what it is now. So, I mean, it just takes people different amounts of time.
I would assume it takes people the later. I'm willing to make a bet. I haven't looked this up, but I'm willing to bet that if you look up the research on the later someone gets married, that the more likely they are to stay together. I'm sure people who get married in their 30s, their percentages more likely to stay together than people who get married in their 20s.
Oh yeah, and for sure.
I'm sure that shows that somewhere that you're older, you're wiser, you know a little bit more about what you want and who you are, the things you can stand, the things you can't stand, and all the things that it would take for someone to love you, being just the way you are. That kind of that gets molded through your 20s. Your 20s are such an exploratory time, and even in your 30s, shoot, really, endlessly you're trying to figure out who you are. But certainly in your 20s, it's just this fucking like commotion of hormones and alcohol and sex and money, and you're not really taking time to settle down and go, what do I really want? So if you end up tying the knot at that time, you can wake up 5 years later and be like, what the fuck was I thinking? I'm such a different person at 25. At 31, I'm literally a significantly different person than I was at 25.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there are always those people that get, I guess, stuck, but it's a lot of the time by their own doing in, the town where they grew up. They never leave, they never go anywhere else or experience living in a different place. And they, they're just, that is their life for right off the bat is kids, husband, maybe divorce later in life, still in that same town, find a different guy in that same town. I've seen the story happen to a lot of people I went to high school with.
I would imagine those people in those smaller towns tend to stay together more though, because there's no other option really. And I think what plagues a lot.
I just meant sort of like your hometown, even if it's like a city.
What plagues a lot of people our age in our environment is the fact that we have so many options. Like you can walk outside right now and there will be like at least 5 women that you have an opportunity with, each possessing something that the other doesn't.
I don't think that's how it works these days, though. It's all digital. It's all Tinder.
Well, yeah, sure. Oh, that's even way worse. You can swipe through your phone, and now there's 10,000 women who all seem like they want you. And that decision fatigue, that option overload, I don't know how far.
I only used it for 2-3 months when I was single before me and Lydia got together. Never any success. I don't think I met up with anyone off of it, but it was just like, this is a weird fucking way to meet people. And I mean, you kind of have to do it, one, because of the coronavirus stuff and that not a lot of stuff is still open, but also because, I mean, where else the fuck do you meet people? Your job or a bar. Those are like, those are your options. Like you might meet someone through a friend, but there's just the digital thing seems so easy, as you said. Like it's just like, oh, I just checked 5 women off my list right now that I do not have any interest in, and on to the next.
Yeah. No, it's scary easy how much access it appears to you, how much access it appears you have to women on there, where it's not really the reality. Most women don't want to sleep with most men, and most men want to sleep with pretty much every woman.
It's an interesting concept on those apps where it's that you both have to swipe right, left, I don't know, on each other in order for it to happen. Like, so it's not just like, oh yeah, I like you, I'm gonna send you a DM now. That would be a fucking catastrophe.
Women would never be on those apps.
Yeah, no, there was another one. I think my cousin still uses it. Bumble, and it's where only the women can reach out to the men. Yeah, like you're not allowed to reach out at all, which is like, okay, that's good. That's a little safer space for women. No unsolicited dick pics.
But here's the thing. Evolutionarily, the reason Bumble has not become as successful as the other apps is because
I have no idea.
Women still don't want to do that. Yeah. Women say they want that power, but what ends up happening is that women match with all these guys and a lot of them just never reach out because it's still not a woman's thing evolutionarily to feel the necessity to reach out to a guy. It's always been incumbent on the guy to reach out to the woman. And I tell my
had a lot of success not reaching out at all in the past. Not on those apps, but just in life. The hard to get method. It works.
For guys, it works. For guys, it works. For girls, I don't know if it works all that well. But for guys, ignoring the woman.
They don't need a method. They don't need a method. They have all the power. They don't have to approach. That's the whole thing. That's why they don't like it, because like why would I do this work?
And that is my point. That is why I tell guys who use these apps that you don't want to get two things. For a guy, you don't want any woman on that app, because any woman who thinks that she needs an app to get a guy is fucked up two ways.
But that's just our society, and it's less of a like it's better than reaching out to a random person on Twitter who you don't know whether they're single or not, if they're looking or not. If you're on a dating app, it's a bunch of people that are looking for someone, so it's not like they don't want to be reached out to. They just want the right person to reach out to them. So it's a much easier way to navigate human beings on a surface level. You do not know shit about them. You can't read them personally. Facial expressions are a huge thing. You don't get any of that on there except for their curated pictures that are all the best things they've ever taken on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But I tell guys specifically, I met a lot of girls on these dating apps, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that every single one of them was fucked up in a weird way. Every single one. And I hear this from every guy I know. And it's because it just makes sense that when you give guys a dating app, what you're giving guys is another tool to hunt. We're the hunters. You're giving us another tool in the tool belt to use. So it makes sense why a guy would be on there. But a girl being on Tinder is like a lion walking up to it's like a gazelle walking up to a lion's den and trying to hang out. It just doesn't make sense. The lions would be so fucking confused. Like this gazelle is obviously sick. This gazelle is sick.
You know what? We're gonna have to take it out for its own good.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put it out.
Either way, not a good situation.
But do you see what I'm saying? So I understand that women feel as if that they need to be on these apps, but the reality still remains.
I think it's a lot more guys, though, right? Probably.
Certainly, I'm sure there is. But the fact still remains that women do not need an app in order to get attention or to get solicited.
Oh, those apps are for men, for sure.
100%. So any woman who feels, even if it's reality or ignorance, who feels that she needs to be on those apps, I think is an indicator of something deeper there. So no matter how hot she is, where I've linked up with some pretty hot women on these apps, there always seems to be an underlying issue. And that's what drives them to those apps in the first place.
Well, then,
and then I tell guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, but wouldn't you think that the guys on there have some type of underlying issue as well, or no?
All right. So this is my next point. And I tell women, you don't want a guy who's getting you through an app for several reasons. Number one, there is something to be said. I don't know what to call it, but a man who has the confidence to come up and speak to a woman, whether a known woman or an unknown woman, and try to court her into dating him, takes a certain level of confidence and bravado and manliness that you immediately don't get when you're on those apps.
Yeah. Well, and that's just a thing in general that is lost the more ingrained in technology our society gets, that those personal interactions are lost. I mean, I don't know if it's happened recently to me, but just talking to a child or a young person on the phone even, or like just how they communicate is very different from someone who is of our age or a little older than us or even in their elderly age. Just the communication methods are so different. It's I don't know. I don't know what my point was there. It's just a rambling thought. Yeah. And it's there's probably a lot of that being lost in terms of like being able to approach women, whether you're a man or woman, wanting to be able to approach a man or a woman to talk to them about something like that. It's it takes quote unquote balls, even if you don't have them. It
takes a certain level of courage that as a woman you want your man to have. And if you get a man who's too afraid to do that in real life, I get it. It is hard. Nobody said finding a woman that you're going to marry is going to be fucking easy.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many of those relationships work. Like, I feel like we get percentages from like, even shit, you can get percentages from like these reality shows, The Bachelor and shit. Like, how many of them stayed together afterwards? I know that's high profile, but it's like, they got to have statistics somehow where they've polled their users. Like, how long have you been with the person you met on the app for their, marketing purposes? I'm sure they want to know that. I'd just be very interested to know how far those relationships went, if any of them, got married, had kids, that type of thing. I mean, just for example, Greenberg, I'm pretty sure that's where he met his current girlfriend, and they seem to be doing fine from what I've seen. Years on. So it's like, wow. But I don't know anyone else that met through. I don't think I know anyone else that met that way. Actually, my sister may have met her husband that way. I don't really know. But yeah, you don't hear a lot of those stories. How'd you meet? Mom, Dad, how'd you meet? Swipe left.
Tinder.
Swipe left, and so did your dad. It was love at first swipe.
Yeah, and that's my point. Is that what also you got to examine. What incentive do these companies have in matching people that would actually stay together? Isn't there a bigger profit margin and a bigger uptick in usage if you can match people who are likely to be together temporarily and then part and then get back on the app? The incentive is to get you to be with people, leave them, and get back on the app. That it would be a very poor business model if they were able to get people to stay together, because you'd have people dropping off the app in droves. And these companies have the ability to match people up with like personalities. They have ratings of you that they don't show you.
Yeah, they have crazy algorithms.
They have ratings of you. So like if they
I think Match.com talks about that for some reason. I've seen commercials.
If they consider me a 6, right? Then they will only match me with people who fit what they have deemed as my attractiveness level.
Hey.
So there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that women are not aware of.
What do they have? Are there statistics out there that prove that these certain characteristics help match people up more often than not? And if that's the case, it's like, shit, their algorithm might be onto something in terms of matching people up that could potentially stay together. But I feel a lot of people just use the app for, sex.
Yeah.
And the uptick, I bet their users have gone through the fucking roof since March when the pandemic hit.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna need you to take a positive test, and then tomorrow you can come over.
Yeah. I would ask, even if that were the case, that a computer somehow knew better than you, is that how you want your love to be found? Is that how you want love to be curated for you? Is through a computer? Because I think it loses some of its essence. Now, I guess there's some argument on that. Like, hey, if you find somebody that you're compatible with, that you're attracted to, then hey, that's enough. And for some people, that's okay. And hey, good riddance. But I don't know if that's what everybody truly wants. And then going on back to what I was speaking about, another reason I tell women that finding a guy on an app is maybe not the most ideal place you want to find a guy is because if you find this guy and you think he's perfect, he's the one, he's everything, he's got this great job, how many other women do you think are on that app that feel the exact same way about him? So even if you get a good quality guy, I have seen these apps take good, wholesome dudes and turn them into savages.
Well, yeah, you gotta turn it off after.
Yeah, if you have a good job, if you have if you're decent looking and you have good prospects for your future, you want to get married and you're a wholesome guy, women see that and they attack you by the fucking droves. So you want to be a guy who says, oh, this woman is really beautiful. I'm going to take my time to know her, get to know her, and share my life with her. But then what happens when you have 10,000 women just as hot as her vying for the same exact position? I don't know many guys in this world who are capable of turning that down. There's not many guys I know. I don't know any guys capable of turning that down. So we've just not been designed that way. So I tell women, even if you meet that great guy on these apps, you're probably woman number 1 out of 50. So you have to bank that your head game, your conversation, your presence is better than all of those women combined. And the chances of that being you is slim to fucking none.
Yeah, but the chances at a bar are pretty slim too, I feel like. Where in your work, very slim. Very slim chances. But the connection is
different when it happens in person. There is something different about a connection that happens in person.
Well, and that's the whole thing too. Well, other people. There is a very positive side of it though too, is you get people that are able to, based on very little information and a visual image, say the most basic necessity in like finding someone attractive is physical. That's how we first view them. So it's the first impression you get. That they give you that, a little bit of a bio, and then you get more information, right, once you are like matched with them. So I would say that, it's at least taking its time to separate these people into groups that they think will be successful for them. That's saying something, I guess, in a way.
I would disagree, and here's why. Because that would be true if men and women thought alike, but we don't. Men, we are strictly visual. I've told you about the graphs that they show of how the older women get, they show the age of the guys that they're attracted to, and it's a steady upward slope. But they show the guys and that the age that the guys are attracted to, it's a straight line at 18 or like 19 years old across the fucking board. It's just how guys are. We are very visual creatures. So that matters to us.
Well, I got two things to that.
Wait, hold on. But I would say the reason that doesn't work for women is because the way women judge us is wholly different. If women just judged us on how we looked, this world would have half the population.
But that's how it starts on those apps. It starts with the visual. It starts with the picture.
No. So,
I don't think you get all the information at first. I don't remember, but I don't think you get like their whole bio until you
click on it.
Maybe. I don't know.
But what I'm saying is that what women are intuition that they're forced to use on an app is not it's not the information that they have evolved, been designed, and typically used to look for in a guy. When they see a guy, even if he's a guy could be attractive to a girl, but if he's awkward, carries himself weird, says a few certain things, he can go from attractive to unattractive in a girl in a matter of seconds.
For sure.
That would almost never happen with a guy. Once you've deemed a woman attractive, you're pretty much in there. Like, oh, she could be a dunce.
Not necessarily. And that's why I think it works on both ways. So the women and the men can see visually, okay, good connection, and then they can decide just off of a first impression in the text portion, when they're communicating, okay, do I want to take this any further? And if they want to take it further, they keep talking and finding out more about each other, seeing whether this would be, a decent opportunity to meet up and get to know each other in person. It's a way to kind of, it's almost like doing research on the person before you decide you're going to go out with them and find out more. So, I think it does lead to that in-person non-sexual event every time. Not every time. I don't think it leads to that every time, but sometimes I'm sure it can lead to good things. You would hope it would. They're somewhat successful for something.
Again, I just don't think it works for women. I think all is true about what you said for men, because how we judge women is so shallow. We judge women solely, almost 100%. Our initial reaction is all about how they look. But for women, it is what a woman uses to make her judgment about her attractiveness to a guy. It figures in so much more than how you look. It is your essence as a person, and that can't even come through text. We know that as a fact. So women lose everywhere around.
I'm gonna give you some facts. I'm not saying they're proving anybody's point here, but I find these fascinating because I wanted to know about this. So 76.9% of the users are male. 30
for sure.
30, that's so high.
It's an inordinate amount.
I didn't know it was that high. God damn. So what they might as well make it into just a male gay app at this point. Yeah. Like it's just dudes finding dudes at this point.
Yeah, like pretty much. It's 70 dudes going at 30 women.
That's one. Yeah. But I mean, that's how it is a lot at bars too.
Really,
dude. To tell you the truth, that's one of the reasons I picked the college I did, because of the ratio. I feel like we always heard of ratios going into college. Like, what's the male to female ratio? And it was like 2 to 1 at CNU, and it was like, oh yes, I have great chances. Great chances here.
It's a golden ratio.
Yeah. So 30 billion matches have been made on Tinder. I mean, that sounds good, right? I guess that's just when you match, but there are more than 50 million Tinder profiles. There are more than 1,700 Instagram photos featuring the hashtag Tinder wedding. Oh, okay. So 1,700 weddings at least. 13
out of 30 billion matches. Yeah. Not a good percentage, bro.
I mean, hey, it's not been around that long, and maybe they're not against marriage. There's a lot of factors.
Okay.
13%.
I'm gonna do that math. 30 billion divided by 17,000.
13.6% of Tinder matches can potentially end in marriage. That's higher than I would think.
How many?
13.6% of Tinder matches can potentially end in marriage. I'm not sure whether,
and potentially sounds.
It's a weird way to say that.
Yeah.
The average age of Tinder users is early to mid 20s. 30% of Tinder users are married. Oh. Okay.
Yep, that sounds about right too.
So they're just looking for a swinger partner, is that it? Most Tinder advertising campaigns are reported to cost upwards of $5,000. I don't care about that. Total 50 million active Tinder profiles, but there's more than 100 million times or 100 million non-active. Oh yeah, more than 35% of users are aged 18 to 24. People aged 25 to 35 make up the second largest group of users, while people aged 65 to 75 amount to just 2%. Hey, grandma and grandpa are on there trying to find somebody.
Trying to get it in, bro.
From the nursing home. It's like, he's down the hall.
Yeah.
It's like a pin on a map. Like, fuck, they're right next to each other.
Yeah.
76 users are male, 76%.
That is staggering.
But most users are, it's available in 196 countries, but mostly it's just US.
Yeah.
Tinder is largely regarded as a hookup app rather than a dating app, but can using this app result in happily ever after? 30% of Tinder users are married. You have to be read that right. 2015 study reported that 30% of Tinder users aren't just in a relationship, they're married. Of course, the company was quick to respond, saying only 1.7% of its users were married at the time. Okay.
That sounds like a whole bunch of horseshit.
Yeah, only 4.16% of millennial Tinder users use the app to find a serious relationship. So yeah, this is probably a very bad example for what we were talking about.
Yeah, no.
From my side of things, at least. But like, I'm sure there's ones that are more based on, I want to get married and shit like that. Find
there's the eHarmonies.
There's the Christian Mingle.
Yeah.
Farmers Only. I've heard of.
Let me tell you a good example of of what I mean by like the real life matters more. I met this girl. She's really Christian, still a virgin. And is like 25 years old, so waiting for marriage. So she's on Christian Mingle because she wants to meet a guy with the same values as hers. Meets this great guy. They have great conversation. Everything is going fantastic. They plan to buy tickets to. He lives a little far, like in Colorado. They plan to buy tickets to meet each other, like somewhere in between. Have a romantic weekend, the whole nine. He says we have to do it not this weekend, but next because I'm going to a wedding. After the night after the wedding, he texts her and says, we got to cancel that trip. I met someone.
Oof, that's rough.
And it's pretty rough, but it goes to show you he had met this person online that was everything, but it couldn't solidify.
Oh yeah,
it couldn't completely cultivate the way meeting someone in person can.
Oh,
it's just something different happens in person. And then even so with women, a woman can judge even on your way walking up to talking to a woman. She already knows whether she's going to reject you or not. She doesn't even have to take the time. What's rough with Tinder and stuff is that a woman could see the attractiveness and go, maybe this guy is worth taking a shot. She could spend a week talking to this guy, texting him, and they meet up, and it's a complete waste of time, where she could analyze all of that in 3.2 seconds in a bar. It's just these apps, and just this is also true with online learning. There is just a level that digital, and this could change. I'm sure it could change. I'm not saying never, but it certainly hasn't happened yet. That they have not found a way to translate the real life into the digital, even with the FaceTiming and the texting and the sex cams. They still haven't made a true connection.
Oh yeah,
digitally. That can replicate real life in any form.
Oh yeah, not at all. I mean, yeah, long distance relationships rarely work out. I mean, that's a lot of the reason why, because you can't be there in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just, people like last resorts, and obviously like some of those are more so for hooking up, and that's why people use them. But then there's other serious ones that people use too. It's more of like a vetting process. I see it as. It's not necessarily like you're going to find the right one. You're going to find a lot of the wrong ones is what it's going to be. But you might diamond in the rough type thing. You never know.
It's a horrible vetting process. It's and that's what I'm saying. We have a better vetting process, it's called real life.
But it's sacrificing the better process for a more streamlined process where you can go through the options a lot quicker. Like,
it's the Amazon of dating.
Yes, never a true statement.
Yeah, I get it. But when has easier ever been better? Amazon gives us 2-day shipping. Now we don't leave our fucking houses. We're even more sedentary than we were before. So, I mean, I'm just saying, my whole thing is like, look, if you're looking to just fuck people and keep it moving, which who wins in that equation? Men. But if that's what you're looking for, then use these apps. They're fantastic for that. But if on the rare and off chance you're actually looking to find someone you have a connection with and want to spend the rest of your life with, which is what most women are looking for, you need to do it in real life. Yes, it's harder, but fucking go to the gym. And when a guy speaks to you, be open. Go to the library, go to the coffee store, and don't always have your headphones in. There are ways that you can encourage real life connectivity. But yes, it takes a little bit more work, but the results are better. You can't shut yourself off to the world. Always wear your headphones. Always have the don't fuck with me look. Shut every guy down that tries to speak to you, and then be mad that you can't find a guy on fucking Hinge or
Relationship Advice with Ray.
I'm just saying, it's just simple. It's so simple. It's not hard. We make this thing called dating and finding somebody you want to spend the rest of your life with. We make it seem like it's hard when we've been doing this for fucking ever without dating apps, and we've made it work. It's not a fucking rocket science. There isn't just one person out there for you. You know what? There's probably thousands of people out there that you would be happy spending the rest of your life with. Be open to finding them. Put yourself in situations that it would be easier to find these people. You're going to have to be more vulnerable. You're going to have to let your guards down more. But what I can promise you is that maybe, just maybe, if that guy in the gym who had the fucking sack to come up and talk to you, that might be a guy worth actually giving a chance, more so than a guy with a shirtless pic on Tinder talking about how he went petting tigers and surfed in the Sahara.
Surfed in the Sahara, huh?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? They got a lot of oceans out there in the Sahara. Well, I don't have much of a rebuttal to any of that. It was very nicely said. It's very nicely said.
It's not a complicated issue, and I see a lot of women out there struggling because I can see who wins from this. I was on these apps I came away a winner.
Well, right now,
a lot of girls came out losers.
Not a lot of places to go. I feel like, you know, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people, not a lot of places aren't open. Yeah, it's just a weird time for that in general. I'm sure. Glad I'm not having to go through that.
Right. Right now it's there. But I hope people, when things open up, realize how many opportunities they had to see and speak and meet people.
Gotta have. I feel sorry for women. Full body condom.
Yeah.
Nowadays, stay safe.
I really feel sorry for women because they really do get the brunt end of the stick. I know myself and the way I acted on these dating apps. I know the way my friends did. We were all savages because the few of us who were attractive enough, who knew we had good jobs, we had a car, we had our own place. It was like shooting fish in a fucking barrel. And all we had to do was tell the one lie that every woman wants to hear. I'm looking for something real. And as soon as they heard that, fucking, oh, here go my panties.
Gotta go.
And I know what the game is like on there. And I just want to tell women, like, if you want to ever take, one thing you don't want to give is men control of the dating game. We don't know what to do with that power. What you really want is you want the power in your hands because you guys know what to do with it. And the way you get that power back is to get the fuck off of these online dating apps. Get off. And make a guy have the fucking sack to come up and talk to in person. Because guess what? Turns out not many guys have the balls to do it. Not many guys. It's funny. Not many guys have the balls to talk to women in real life. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, but
most guys can't do it.
There's still probably so many that have had success on these, like finding a relationship. So many.
Who, girls?
Girls or guys. I mean, obviously,
I don't know any.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
I know that doesn't mean they don't exist.
I know one.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they don't exist, but if they were as prevalent as they claim to be, we would hear of it much more. We're in that age group where we know plenty of guys and girls. Look, you got plenty of single friends, as do I, who use these apps. And I'm not hearing just this barrage of, oh my God, these great people I'm meeting online.
Wall Street Journal, dating apps are making marriages stronger. Couples who meet online tend to communicate better and have longer, happier relationships. Oh,
really?
Gotta sign in or subscribe to read the whole goddamn thing, you motherfuckers. I got the first paragraph, but it's all about some specific person and has no statistics. So yeah. I mean, that was just from like last summer. They put that up, and I mean, obviously, it's gone up a lot. And it all depends on what we were mentioning, Tinder, but I mean, it could be fucking anything. But I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of digital communication nowadays. Who knows what?
Yeah, I mean, I would
statistics work out.
I would definitely give eHarmony and those Match.com. I would give them the props that they probably are much better at finding people who are matches that stay together for a good amount of time, because that's why you pay for those services, because a lot more work and upfront shit goes into trying to pick out who's right for who. I get that. But on these other apps that, look, let me tell you like this. Something as important as marriage and finding the right person, you think somebody's going to hand that shit out for free? Why do you think Tinder is free? Why do you think Hinge is free?
Yeah, but
if they could provide the services,
I guess
they claim,
a lot of the big ones. I feel like eHarmony is not the one I'm thinking of. I feel like I see commercials.
Match.com?
It might be Match, yeah, because I feel like I see commercials that are specifically models from the man and woman side. Like, they're all models. They're like, I used it and I found the love of my life. It's like, God damn it, bitch, you did not. Yeah, you are lying.
Damn liar.
But this had just saying a lot of marriages. Yeah, I mean, hey, obviously it's gonna uptick the more it's used, the more sophisticated it gets.
Sure.
The better the services. I'm sure. I bet those specific ones, like we were saying, like Christian Mingle, and I swear there's a Farmers Only, and I don't know if it's because we live
a Farmers Only.
Yeah, in the South, but I've seen a commercial for that shit, and it was like, is this a joke? What? So, what was that?
No, I mean, I'll be open to.
Yeah, no, I just feel like maybe those specific ones, they have a higher rate. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm open to being completely wrong.
I don't even know how we got on talking about this, but yeah.
No, I'll just end it here with I see a lot of women I know really struggling, and it's across the board. Andrew, I'm telling you, I've talked to a lot of girls 28 and below who are on these apps. I have never heard stories of true happiness. And I'm not just saying in the people they meet, which is part of it, but the experiences these girls go through on these apps is just atrocious, bro.
I just realized I know another one. Ashland met her husband through one of those apps, and they're getting married. They had to postpone it because of the coronavirus, but they just had their first child as well. So
good for her.
Yeah, I mean,
good for her.
Now I know 2 people that at work has someone at work for. So hey, you never know.
Yeah, no, I agree that it works. I agree it works for some people, but the likelihood of it working and it's very low. And I wonder how many people, the people you know who've been successful, how many bad situations they had to run through before they hit one out the park.
Oh yeah,
but
I only found bad situations when I was on there for a limited time. So
yeah,
all depends on how professional those pictures look. That's how your success is determined.
If you could get a picture with a tiger in there, it's over.
Golden.
It's over. Well, you might as well just send images of your cock and just be like, me and you. LOL.
Well, we're 40 minutes in, and this is episode 39, I think. 39. Yeah, I don't know. It's 39. But yeah, it's election day today.
Yep. That eventually had to come up, right?
39. Yeah, I mean, it is that day.
It is.
Only I have not watched 4 years. I haven't watched any coverage.
I have not watched a minute of news.
Well, no, and it's not going to be decided today either, so it's kind of hard to even be like. Normally, you could watch it. You could stay up late and find out who won by the end of the night, but I don't think it's going to be determined by the end of the night because of all the mail-in ballots. Yeah, I guess, dude. There's going to be, and I don't even care if we talk about the either sides of it. I think either person wins. There's going to be some sort of fallout from this. And it's going to be confusing and crazy. And I'm along for the fucking ride. I don't know why, but I am. Either way, I'm just like, it's like Christmas. I'm like, something crazy is going to happen. I hope nobody gets injured, obviously. But people are going to overreact on either side, either fucking way.
Oh, correct.
I've never felt this much tension, but it's like a gleeful for me. I don't know why. Yeah. It's like a gleeful tension before an election. And I've only been involved in, a handful in my lifetime because I'm not, super old. I was only 18. Yeah. 15 years ago. God damn. But it's, I don't know. It feels weird. It's going to be weird. I feel like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and somebody's house might be burning next door. I don't know. We had people in our neighborhood somebody destroyed someone's Biden signs in their yard. And yeah, there was a whole video. It's on like the neighborhood, what is it called? Like Facebook group. And they were talking about it all over there. And it's just like, oh God, it's that time of year. Every year I remember what happens because I was at CDW last time in 2016 and in 2012. I was at CDW. So I got to see the clusterfuck that was everyone talking shit all day in the office about politics. God damn. And plus, we worked for the government. So it was like everybody had an opinion. I don't want to hear all them opinions in one day at work for fucking a month.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. Part of me, I don't know. I became more hopeful in the last couple of days because I'm not on social media, as everybody fully is aware of by now.
But you do read news.
Correct? I do read news.
Okay.
But I just started talking to people. I know people who support Trump. I know people who support Biden. Will I say that the people who support Biden seem a little bit more feverish? I'll say yeah. There seems to be a little bit more panic.
Yeah, I don't think they could. Some people's heads will explode if it's 4 more years of Trump.
It seems
they built it up too much, just like with Hillary.
Yeah, it seems a little bit more like madness on the left. Like they're literally going to lose their shit like mentally because they already have. And I don't know what the next step of mental insanity is for people who've already lost their fucking mind. But I will say that I had a moment of clarity that if you're not watching news on social media, if you're not watching mainstream media and you're just out talking to regular people, you get calm because you're just like, oh.
It's crazy because like you see these people that go nuts on either side for whatever reason on whatever issue, whenever it is. Say it was Portland earlier this year, it was fucking Charlottesville 2 years ago, whenever it was. It's just like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know
I would
them.
hope you don't know any people from Charlottesville.
Well, no, but like I don't know, not the people that live there, but the people that are destroying things and going nuts for no reason. Like none of my close friends or family are out there destroying stuff or marching for that cause. It's just like it just doesn't compute with me. And I know I've said this before, but I don't understand why that would be the reaction to either side winning. And I just, it's beyond me. It just doesn't compute. But that's also me just not understanding why people cheer for political parties like their sports teams either. Because I mean, fuck, I've seen many a riot after a fucking sports team loses or wins. I still remember, I think it was the Canadian Maple Leafs. I think I'm getting that right. They when they won. Yeah, did they win or lose? But they fucking rioted. And there's a famous picture of like a couple laying in the middle of the street just like making out on the ground, but behind them are tons of protesters and fires. There's like a couch burning beside them or a cop car. I don't know. And it's just like, I don't get that. Like, I definitely don't get like that people do that at sports. But I that doesn't help me understand the politics thing either way. Because I understand, yes, these are issues that affect people's lives. But sometimes they don't affect them as directly as I feel like those people affect them. Like taxes or whatever. You know, you name it. It's just like I don't, especially with the pro-life versus... what is pro-choice? God, I always forget what the other one is. I want to call it pro-abortion, which is not, I guess, politically correct, but that is what it is. So,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, but it's just like I never will understand someone trying to force their beliefs on someone else. It just doesn't make sense to me, and that is one of those issues where it's like, if it's your body, do what the fuck you want with that body, and it never makes sense how people go so hard on these issues that don't necessarily affect them, but affect other people. And it's like, I don't get that. Cause there's like basic shit that I like. And that's one of them. It's just like, don't tell people what to do with their own body. Let them do what they would like with it. But I don't know. I don't get very like, what I'm trying to say is I don't get really focused on one issue like a lot of people do. And that's how I think a lot of the votes are determined, is like, well, I like Trump's stance on the economy, so I'm voting for him. Well, I like Biden's stance on the climate, so I'm going to vote for him. So it's just like, you know, I don't get that because I agree with things on both sides. And I feel like it takes me a longer time to analyze who I would vote for in any given situation. And you know what I'm so glad about? I do vote in local elections every so often, but not as often as I guess I should, because the issues get so specific, especially to where I'm at. And it's just like, oh God, the research amount I'm going to have to put into this. If I see one more goddamn attack ad, so it'll try to swing me one way or the other, goddamn. Although I have to give it to Trump. He had a meme that was maybe 45 seconds long. It was like of Biden doing something, I don't know, stupid or forgetful or something like that. And there was a YouTube video that I think his campaign put out, and it was a 30-minute loop of that 45-second meme. A 30-minute loop. And the YouTube comments were just like, man, his thing is on another level. Like his social media game somehow. And it's just like, what is going on? I don't know. I watched it because I thought it was like a documentary or something. It's 30 minutes long. And then I realized, Okay, this shit is just repeating itself like over and over and over. Oh God. And the stuff that happens around this time of year. Like, how many text messages and random phone calls are you getting on your phone from numbers you don't know? Just like none? Well, wait, do you use Google Messages?
No.
What do you use? Text message wise. Like for your text.
Just regular whatever app comes on my Android phone.
Oh, okay. I thought that might be Google Messages, but I mean, a lot of them block spam numbers from coming in. But I've been getting a ton of different things on both sides. Like, hey, can we really count on your vote for Trump this year? Oh, can we count on? Is that because you're not like designated? Do you have to designate yourself a party so they stop? One side stops and the other side only continues.
I don't know. I've just never dealt with that.
My cousin had one the other day, and his whole response to this, because it's like a little paragraph they'll send you, like, are you going out? This is what you need to realize about the other party. And he just wrote back, I'm Canadian. And they wrote back something like, I'm sorry to hear that. We will take you off our list. And then he wants to keep it going with him. So he wrote back, why are you sorry to hear that I'm Canadian? What, is there something wrong with being Canadian? I thought it was so funny. I was like, damn, that's a great response. Just keep it going with them. They don't want to keep going. They were just expecting one and done. That's so good. But yeah, just this time of year is it's Christmas for people that like to see. Yeah. Do I like to see the world burn? Not necessarily, but I like to see people's heads explode because they can't handle truth. That's kind of sadistic of me, but it's not like they're in pain. It's more so like I hope that this spurs them into knowledge one way or the other on whatever side they're on. Like, I just hope that if it's the outcome they want or the outcome they don't, that they still learn something from the experience. Hopefully they voted. That could be the learning experience. Shit. I mean, I know someone that's just voting for the first time, and he's my age. Like, he had obviously a chance in Obama's first two elections and then this last one and didn't. So it's just, I don't know. It's it's an interesting time of year to see exploding heads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to be a lot of those. And you covered a lot there. So I'll go to why people get so passionate about this. I think the sports fans and political figures, it's for similar reasons, where there's a lot of young men who attach a lot of their identity to sports, whether they're not doing good in life, they're not doing good in their jobs. Now, keep in mind, a lot of
could just be a hobby, obviously.
Yeah, a lot of very wealthy, attractive guys who get a lot of women love sports. I'm not saying that, but I think there's also a very large group of guys who that's all they really have. It's their escape. So when their team wins, it's like if the Redskins won a Super Bowl tomorrow, I'm like, yeah, cool. But there's a lot of people who, if the Redskins win a Super Bowl tomorrow, would absolutely riot because it is so much a part of their identity. They're probably living at home with their mom. There's a lot of things that could I think be substituting in place of things that they lack in their life. And I think that's also true with politics, that you see a lot of these, like in Charlottesville, the Tiki Torches, all young, nerdy-looking white guys, right, who spend a ton of time on the internet, probably aren't getting all the girls.
Bunch of conspiracy theories.
This is a way for them to let out anger and anguish in ways. Now, I'm sure some of them are racist, but I'm sure if you really dug into a few of those guys, it's not racism. It's just a feeling of wanting to belong.
It's a group dynamic. Right? Oh, super. Yeah, I get what you're saying there for sure. Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's where a lot of this divisiveness and a lot of vitriol comes from, which is why when you talk to most people,
so heated, you don't get that. And to what you're saying, it's like these are very personal to some people based on whatever experience you've had. It could be whatever issue, of the main ones. And it's like when they get that personal, it's going to make you push towards that. And maybe that's why they're so staunch about it. But it's also, to me, having only two teams and giving people only two of those main choices, it's very hard to not have that butting of heads. Like, ideologically, but also physically, like physical violence, because I mean, say in sports, like you have that group dynamic, you feel like you belong somewhere. I don't feel like, I mean, maybe you get that out of politics, but it's not like at least recently, it seems like a more so like, we're not happy we won, we're happy they lost thing. Yeah. And it's in sports, I think it's the other way around. It's happy we won. Well, sometimes insurmountable odds, we're happy we didn't lose, but there's also so many choices in so many sports, and it is about something that people had from their childhood, and voting and parties. I mean, shit, I didn't fully understand this shit till sometime in my 20s, for sure. Like, I was not one. I mean, I voted when I was 18, but not because I was well informed by any means, you know? And it's just, I don't know. I see sports as more of a very positive thing, but people take only religion and politics to that negative level, because it's more so like in sports, you know, you have a team and they can be right or wrong in your eyes. Obviously, if they're your team, they're right, and they're the wrong team in other people's eyes, but they still respect that team. I mean, there's rivalries, but they are another team of equal caliber in whatever league this is. So you have to respect them. But in politics, I don't feel like that there's any of that respect for the other side. Just like in religion, I don't feel that respect for other religions, because in that it's more so like, this is how it went. You guys are completely wrong about how you worship God. This is our God. This is how we worship. You're wrong. And that's how politics seems as well. And maybe that's why they're both the, you know, taboo subjects that are the two that aren't supposed to be talked about, that we talk about constantly on here, which I love.
No, like, and I think it's because politics, like religion, is very intertwined in who you are, which is why when you take the big 5 personality traits, based on what whether you're neurotic, whether you're anxious, whatever, based on that big 5 personality trait, I can tell whether you're Republican or liberal. So being conservative, or I said Republican or liberal, conservative or liberal. So being conservative or liberal is literally it's like in your biology.
Yeah, but isn't there an in between?
I'm sure. Certainly, I'm sure. I'm sure there is. But especially those who get to those fever pitches, I'm sure.
Is that called an independent, by the way? What is that called?
Yeah.
Independent.
The in between is like, some of this, some of that. Yeah, I would say that's an independent.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
but you know, I think so. People who are, you know, diehard Republican, diehard Democrat, diehard liberal, diehard conservative, it's you saying that there might be something wrong with that ideology is you saying there's something fundamentally wrong with who we are, because they don't know how to be something different. Like, take for example me. Yeah. I'm right now, like, my whole life I've leaned conservative my whole life. I've had liberal ideas, but in how I acted, I've always acted conservative with my money, with my sexuality, with my everything. I've leaned very conservative. If you were to try to ask me to change that about who I am, I do not see how that would happen. It is so fundamental to who I am and where I am today. And I'm sure it's the same for people who lean liberal, that it's changing that aspect about them is extremely difficult, because there's something tied in the fabric of their biology, I think. So that's why I think it's very difficult for people to let go of those reins or to try to budge, even though I do believe there was a time in this country where we were far less polarized than this, though. I don't think people are that married to it as we'd like to think they are. I think people are capable
evolving.
Yes. But
changing the way they think.
It's harder to do when the other side is telling you you're morally evil.
Yeah, but it's another thing where it's like it's up to you, and it's always up to you whether you take that or you leave that. Like, that doesn't have to be, you can hear that, you can take that in. Just because someone says some wild shit to me doesn't mean that I all of a sudden believe it. But there's a lot of people that do that. And there's a lot of people that take that as, oh, they're telling me I'm wrong, so fuck them. They're pushing me more this way. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm pushing more this way because they're saying I'm wrong. And it's like, who gives a fuck what they say? Think about what you think, not what they think. And I'm not saying that, you know, either of us think that way, but it's like that I know that there's people that think that way, and it impacts them to a certain level that's like, you're almost not making your own decision. You're doing something in spite. And it's like, that's what I don't like about politics. And you saying that it's ingrained in you from, when you're little, like conservative or liberal. I would say, it's in your identity. Yeah. But at the same time, I think those, as you say, can evolve over time. And I wouldn't say I started out one way or another, because it's always like, especially with the bigger issues, it's hard for you to learn each one of those in steps and know exactly how you feel about it. You have to gather the information. So, I mean, there was definitely issues where I was quicker to learn what they meant and what side I stood on. And I would consider myself more in the middle, really, of the line. I've never identified one way or another. And that's why it's so hard for me to understand, one, why there's only two fucking parties, and two, why there's no categorization for why can't there be a candidate in the middle saying, yep, I agree with some of those, I agree with some of Biden. Let's say, you know what? Vote for me. I got the best of both right here. Like, why don't we have that? It's just a mystery. And I don't think I'll ever understand it. And you just have to vote with, I mean, some people, like I said, they vote on one issue and one issue alone. Whatever party stands for that issue, I'm passionate about that, I'm going that way. Mine would have to be, got to research multiple angles. Whoever has the most, like a Venn diagram type thing, then, I guess that's who I'm going with. And as we've talked about before, this is not the best candidates. Two elections in a row, just definitely not the best people that could be out there running the country. Got some aged motherfuckers both running. And I love how they talk about Biden's age, but Trump is old as fuck. And it's just like, God damn it. Yeah. Who cares about 3 years when you're over 70 years old? It's all the same. It's all the goddamn same.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, going back to what you said, like, let's take an example of something like abortion, right? These key things that separate people, because I think there are a lot of topics that if you broke them up, some liberals will be like, I'm more conservative about that. Some conservatives, they'd say they're more liberal about that. But there are a few key sticky issues that are what wedge people into one corner or the another. And let's take something like abortion.
That's one, for sure.
Like Louis C.K. said, and I mean, he said it so succinctly, but I had never thought about it in these, like I had never heard somebody say the words, but he's like, of course they're upset. They think they're killing babies. Like, they think they're killing babies.
Yeah, no,
of course
I get the mindset.
Livid, you know what I mean? So I think it's putting yourself in the other side's shoes to kind of see where they're coming from. And on issues such as abortion, I think it is completely irrational to be one way or the another. I think that is such a convoluted, complicated, just confusing subject to say either yes all to abortions or no all to abortions. I just think is a intellectually lazy way of thinking. It is extremely complicated. There are issues where I'm sure they could be presented to me and I'd say no to abortion. I'm sure there are issues that could be presented to me and I'd say yes to abortion. And that's how those topics are. They're just they're too complicated for one to pick a side, I think. But I get why people get passionate about them, because they think, again, like you're treading on who they are as people. And then when you bring into the fold the fact that there's some people who think that this means that the country is on the line, when you think the other side is morally reprehensible, then of course you don't feel any need to dial back your rhetoric. Of course you can say anything and do anything to these people because they're evil and they're trying to destroy your company, your country. And at that point, all holds. You can do anything. I don't like how, at least on social media, it's gotten to that point. And I think a lot of it is driven by social media, is driven by China, the North Koreans, the Russians. They are sowing discord within our country, and we're looking at one another as if it's each other, when it's not, for the most part, where we love and appreciate each other.
It comes down to people not doing their research and just believing anything that's read online. It's ridiculous.
Certainly, man. I mean, we know, dude. I think what happened is, America's military is bigger than the next 10 militaries combined. Something
we could take on 10 countries at once
and be good.
Bam,
and not even
we got this.
Sweat. Yeah, not even break a sweat. So I think what happened with that, America got cocky. We got cocky. We're like, who the fuck is gonna fuck with us, dog? Come. Who want what? Who want what?
But
right?
we've had a whole list of and you go back. There's so many different presidents that used that to their advantage or didn't use it as an overall advantage over people, misusing the power, I guess. But there's certain ones that did.
But my point was though that with that inordinate amount of immense power, we had a blind spot. And what was that blind spot? The internet. Where other countries looked and they said, look, if we try to attack the U.S. head on, if we try to defeat them or manipulate or fuck with them on a militaristic level, there's no shot in hell in which we win this battle. What other way can we destroy them? How about if we turn them on themselves? Dude, if you were to write a book on war, this is strategy number one.
From what I've heard about China and Russia in terms of their capabilities, they're way above our own, as well as being, reputations of people in those countries they work hard as fuck in hard ass conditions. So if they want to be a good hacker, they're going to be a good fucking hacker. And they are going to sow fucking discord. I know you heard on Rogan they were talking about, it was months ago or even a year ago, but they were talking about they had some lady on that talked about how they sowed discord so much that they put a pro-Muslim rally across from a pro-Trump rally in the same town in Texas. And it was just they're just trying to start a violent event. It's wild. Cause we have defenses. I'm sure we have skilled people to keep people out, but at the same time, the internet is so big. There's so many ways in. There's so many ways to hack people these days. It's a wonder we prevent any attacks digitally, And but to me, I was talking about this with someone the other day. We're so advanced in every area. Why the fuck is voting still done where you stand in line at a building and go in and mark your vote one at a time? What the fuck is this that's going on? I can renew my driver's license online with barely any documents. I can do many, many different legal things online. Why the fuck can't I do this? And how is it that hard to keep a system that tallies the votes right away and that we know the election within a couple hours? And I'm going to go on my soapbox one more time. Election day should be a fucking holiday. People should not have to figure out how to get off work to go do this. You know how many more people would vote if they didn't have to take off work? I heard on NPR this morning that 70% of the total people that voted in 2016 have already voted in this election from mail-in ballots and early voting at polling stations because of, obviously coronavirus, but it's wow. So wait, you're telling me that not even election day, we've already had 70% of the total turnout. So how many more are we going to have over what we had last year? Texas already beat the number of people they voted in 2016 before election day even happened. Total number of people that voted. It's all right, you make it easier for people to vote. They're more apt to vote.
Of course.
I still don't think mailing in a snail mail is not the fucking way to do it. It's one step removed from fucking having to drive to a fucking spot. But there's gotta be an easier way. Gotta be. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna keep going.
No, keep going.
No, there's just another thing when it comes to, this has nothing to do with the election, but it kind of does. Taxes. Everybody's worried about taxes, all that shit. I feel like people worry way too much about those when it comes to the election because the average citizen is not impacted by that. Lower and middle class people are not necessarily or not usually taxed more after a certain election into a significant amount that you would notice. But I've seen things posted online, and I know specifically J. Cole called this out after the last election, or maybe after the last tax round, Why can we not see where our taxes go, to what services they pay for? I saw a tax return from Australia, and it had literally the percentage of money that you paid in taxes, where it was allocated in the state's or country's budget, like where it went, each dollar. And it's like, how hard is that? I can get a report right now on anything I want online. Why not that?
Yeah, good. Good question.
Sorry, that has nothing to do with the election, I guess, but that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of antiquated systems, but I completely agree that voting should either be done on a weekend or that day is taken off.
Weekend, that's a good
idea. It's got to be one or the other. Make it on the weekend, or make the day that people are voting, make it a federal national holiday so that people are not penalized for taking that day to go and vote. I could not agree more. We have an antiquated system in a lot of ways about voting, and such easy changes that could be done to make it more convenient for people to vote. But Democrats don't want that to happen because they think more Republicans will come out and vote, and Republicans don't want that to happen because they think more Democrats will come out and vote. So they want it just the way it is because they know how to play the game exactly the way it's set up right now.
That's why I don't like it. It's a fucking game. Mm-hmm. You know, it
is certainly a game.
Did you see there's I don't know if I guess you're in Virginia, so it would be on yours too, but there was a thing to like vote to redraw voting districts. I know that's always been in question for years and years in the past, where these voting lines are drawn, and you see some of these like maps of where they're drawn, and you're like, why was it drawn this way? Are all these the low income houses, or are these the high income houses right here? Like, what are we doing here? It takes a long time to change the rules of the game, I guess.
It is shitty. And, you know, getting people to vote online would be hard. You know, again, like we pointed out, these hackers in China and North Korea and Russia and Iran, they're hacking on a level that I don't think the U.S. is fucking with right now. So I don't think
they make all the shit we use.
Right. I don't think the U.S. could confidently move to an election that was primarily online and feel confident about their ability to not have it hacked or meddled with. Because, again, you know, like I was saying earlier, we were caught flat-footed when it came to the cyberspace. We were caught very flat-footed because we were too dominant in our position in the world, and these other countries were looking for a backdoor in. And if you were to write a book in 2020 about an art of war book, on the first page would be what China and Russia have done to America. How you could just disseminate information, have the country turn on itself. Don't fire one weapon. Don't land one troop on the ground.
Yep.
Literally send out a tweet and watch the country implode. Matter of fact, if you were to write an Art of War book right now, it would be one page. You would just do what they did because it has proven so fucking effective.
There's got to be a way to lock down the votes, though. There has to be a way to do it online and lock down votes so that there is no hacking of a sort. I know there's a security
whatever we would learn, we would learn it from the Chinese. Like, so whatever we would come up with, we'd be like, China, how do we secure our voting? How do we secure our election? China's like, oh, I got you, bro. Don't worry. Like, take, for example, right now, right? There's a big, right now, Huawei, you know of them, the phone company, the telecom company from China. They are paving the way for 5G. They are light years ahead of other 5G.
Their phones are great.
Yeah, and in terms of just their 5G telecommunication efforts, they are light years ahead of everyone else. And right now, they're trying to corner the market because if you want to get in bed with 5G, China's kind of making it so that you got to connect to their lines. And if they ever made it into America or other countries, or let's say you go to London and their 5G networks are from Huawei, all of a sudden they have access to everybody's personal information. China's playing a very strategic, slow game. But if you look at the moves they're making, they are making very direct power play moves. And I'm afraid to say, That's why I like Trump, because he's like, China, no. He's the first president in my lifetime to be like, dude, nah, we're not playing this shit, and be hard against China. China is not a friend. They are not an ally. What we believe in, what we have here in America, does not jive with what they believe in China. And given the opportunity, they would destroy America in a heartbeat. I hope people realize and understand that this is not a game with China. They want to destroy us. Democracy is everything that they can't stand. Freedom, the freedom of expression, to say what you want about who you want, to do what we're doing right now, is literally the antithesis of that country. We cannot fuck with these people and be friendly with them. And Trump is the first president in my lifetime to actually be one to voice that. So I don't know, I went on a little tirade there, but China ain't no friend, bro.
But I mean, maybe he's the first one to voice it on Twitter, but it's, I mean, I don't think that it's...
He started a trade war with them. Like, he's not playing, dude.
Yeah, but is that a good thing? I mean, we get a ton of things from China. That is where we get so many things.
It is, but we need more jobs here.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying the jobs are there. I'm saying that the products they make aren't made here, so we get them from there.
Yeah, certainly. Look, China offers a service, but it's a service we need to figure out how we can get ourselves, because we are whoring ourselves out to China at the expense of our democracy. And little by little,
what do you mean at the expense of our democracy?
For example, when the Houston Rockets GM came out and said he supports the people in what was going on in China, in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
When he supports the protesters in Hong Kong, they cut ties with them, forced the NBA to come out and say, whoa. He didn't mean that, China. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's business.
We apologize.
That's that business shit.
That is the first sign, man.
But that's the business shit. I mean, that shit happens all the time, every day, with people apologizing and putting out PR
not
statements.
With a communist regime. You do what I'm saying? That's different.
Yeah, but all right, how many other communist regimes does the U.S. deal with? It's an antiquated system. It doesn't happen as much anymore around the world, except in China.
I was going to say Russia, but they're not the Soviet Union anymore. They have they have the veil of democracy, but it's an autocracy.
Yeah,
or
of course,
dictatorship.
But China obviously is a very successful nation, has been. I mean, they've been around longer than probably most nations in the entire world. Like, they're ancient. And I'm not saying that, they don't hate the U.S. I have no idea. But at the same time, it's like
they do.
They can run their country how they want. It's just up to us to figure out how to work that relationship to our benefit, or to a mutual benefit, really. I don't think they necessarily want to destroy the U.S. It's not necessarily like some of the ISIS terrorists who dismiss everything that the U.S. stands for. Because, I mean, how many Chinese immigrants do we get in the U.S. every year? I mean, maybe they don't want to live in a communist nation anymore, but it also might just be because we are also a prosperous country, just like China is. And I'm not saying that, who knows if Trump's deal with China will play out as he wants it to, or for the benefit of anyone. That's obviously something that's long-term and remains to be seen, but I don't see presidents in the past doing things with China that have completely fucked us in any way.
I feel like we were giving more and more ground to them, making our nation more dependable on what they supplied. Take, for example, like medicine, like surgical masks. All of a sudden, a pandemic hit, and we found out, fuck.
Well, yeah, I agree. More jobs here, making things in America would be great. But are we going to pay child laborers 15 cents for every iPhone they make? No. But our American companies are going to exploit that labor because it's cheap, and that's how business is done. So, I mean, Trump, of all people, I mean, if he wasn't president, he may be not even worrying about that deal because of how many factories he might own over there to make things for him. It's like a give and take. I feel like it's not necessarily that everyone in America wants this China relationship to go away. It just might be bad for Trump's business or for his friends' business, which are obviously very powerful people, I'm sure. But, I mean, just Apple is who I can think of off the top of my head because they notoriously, you know, have suicide nets around the buildings where their workers work. So it's just, I don't know. Things need to be made in America, sure, but they do it. It's been done like that for a long time for a reason, right?
Yeah, certainly. China created a unique business incentive for the likes of Nike, Apple.
Oh, Nike!
Toyota.
Forgot about them.
Yeah, of a whole.
Toyota is Japanese.
Japanese. I mean, they use labor over there too. Everyone does. They gave them a unique business opportunity by allowing Americans and people around the world to take advantage of these populations within their country that have no say. And my objection to that is that just because it's available, we shouldn't take it, and we should make it harder. We should incentivize companies to stay here and not go to China. And whatever that takes, I think we should try to implement that. I just don't think. I think China has been shown that they've tried to. China has tried to meddle in our elections. China has tried to sow discord in our country. China has hacked several companies within the U.S. I mean, they are trying, but through backdoor, more quiet ways of infiltrating American society, turning us against each other, and destroying what we call the essence of our country. It's just not as noticeable because they're letting you think it's all Russia, it's all North Korea, but they are just as big of players.
Yeah, but I would say we're also probably one of the biggest players in that as well, doing that to other countries. So it's like, once again, it's a give and take. We're going to spy on you. You're going to spy on us. This way our spies don't get killed because they're not actually in the field. We do it through computers. So, I mean, it's not, the U.S. isn't innocent in that regard whatsoever. So it may be, for all we know, because we don't hear about us hacking other people. And obviously that's for a reason. Our government doesn't want us to know the shady things they're doing. We hear about other governments doing shady things to us so that they look less favorable and we look more favorable. The same exact thing happens in those other countries where we look less favorable, they look more favorable. The U.S. is hacking us, so we're doing this campaign against them. Who the fuck knows who started the shit? Probably China or Russia, as you said. It maybe goes back quite a long ways, but I don't know. It's just a huge give and take with that. So, I mean, sure, maybe that trade deal will work out, but who knows?
Yeah, I for me, it comes down to one entity is doing all those dirty things in the name of democracy. One is doing all those dirty things in the name of communism. And for me, democracy will win every day of every day of the week. And yeah, sometimes you got to get your hands dirty. This shit is not going to ever be clean.
It's just different cultures.
I'm on the side of democracy.
Different cultures, and I mean they've always been communists.
Yeah, but you can't. I don't believe in cultural relativism. Some cultures are better than others. Point blank. Period. American culture is better than Chinese.
Yeah,
culture.
But that's also your opinion. It's not a fact. And there's just a person just like you in China saying the same thing.
There's factual metrics you could use.
Yeah, but it's all relative to those metrics. It's all relative to those metrics.
Those metrics are metrics in and of themselves. Those are facts. The standard of living, the upward mobility, your quality of life, those things can tell you which is a better place than the other. And in China, it is not. The upward mobility is it's zilch. You have to already have the name and the clout in order to rise to the top. Every company is in the government hands and nothing gets done without the government's approval. It's not even one is communism and democracy are not comparable. One sucks, oppresses people and kills them, and another doesn't.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing that one isn't better than the other. I like democracy more. That's what I grew up in. But what I'm saying is the people that are there, they grew up in that. That is what they like more. They don't have experience in democracy. So this is how they live their life. Not everyone wants to live. Obviously, some people are suicidal. But if you're living your life and that's what you grew up in, that's what you know, you work the system that you know. I mean, we're not the only democracy in the world, but our democracy works a lot different than a lot of other places. So you use the system that's put in front of you to advance your life how you can. And maybe there's less opportunity for that within communism, but I mean, I don't know. I can't say it's because from their side of things, yes, there's a ton of oppressed people, but there's oppressed people in America as well. They're not going to say that democracy has been their favorite thing in their life. And there's going to be people like that in China, but there's also going to be people that say communism worked for me.
Yeah, those are the people who it's great for, which are the very few. And so I would just put it like this. You don't think that people know that there's a better lot in life? Like, take, for example, for the woman in Afghanistan getting beat by her husband for not being fully covered in 100-degree heat. She knows there's something better. You don't have to see the something better in order to know that there's something better. When you're in
you
poverty,
do have to be educated about it.
I mean, when you're in poverty, you know you're in poverty. You don't need an education in what being rich looks like in order to understand your lot in life. You know what, if you're struggling, if you're famished, if you have no clean water, no good food, it's not like you're like, oh, this is fantastic. This is just what I know, so this is great. That's not how it is. It's not. People understand that there's a better life, that there's a better way to live. And with the influx of the internet into all of these countries, that's even more so today than it was, say, even 10 years ago. So these people know that there's a better way to live. And not many people are a fan of communism, even in communist China. So I'm trying to say is that I fundamentally do not believe China's a friend. And I need to be able to, I know I've read so much on this, but I haven't read it enough to the point that I can easily recite the specifics. But I will do that for the next podcast, and I'll send you the information so you can read it yourself. And I'll demonstrate to you how China is in a constant race to destroy democracy everywhere. Because in order for communism to be the staple or the creme de la creme of governing, you can't have democracy because it makes it clear that there is a better way to live and govern people. So in order for them to be right, in order for them to convince their people that is the best, the other things cannot exist. And especially democracy. Because that is an affront to everything they believe in. Freedom, people saying what they want to say about who they want to say it about. Yeah, right. Why do you think people in China who speak out come out missing?
Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah,
it's fucked, man. So, but yeah, like
I'm just looking at all the what are these? Just indexes for pollution, quality of life, all that type of stuff for different countries. Mm-hmm. Quality of life, yeah, we're much higher than China. We're 15, and China is 62, 63. Mm-hmm. And Hong Kong is 65. But I mean, there's a lot of other ones where we're right around the same as them.
Yeah, I would just say. So
America's not very safe, according to this index.
Yeah, there's 400 million guns. I'm assuming that it would typically mean not very safe. But for in regards to China, you know, I know China's economy is rising quite rapidly, but make no doubt about it that for 90% of the people living in that country, life is absolute misery. They may seem shiny and glossy from the outside, but anybody who knows anything about China, experts on China will tell you that most people are living a life that you would never wish for them. And it's a very few people, typically those within government and typically those with lineages already in power, are the ones reaping all of the benefits. But for most people there, it's still a very hard place to live.
Yeah, they're
no
not.
Matter how.
They're not. This is the highest GDP per person. They're not even on this one. Lowest GDP per person. Just, they're probably on this one. No. Yeah, it's just interesting to me to look at these statistics. I think I sent you one a long time ago from Reddit, just about each.
Oh yeah, you did.
It's interesting to see where we rank.
My only qualm with those measures are this. I wish they did more to address how diverse the U.S. is and compare, kind of parse that out because when you say a place like Germany has a better quality of life, or Sweden, or these very monolithic cultures. Monolithic, I don't think that's the word, but these very heterogeneous cultures, where in Germany, 80% of the people are German. It's much easier.
87% of the people are German.
Okay, even more. It's much easier for people to get along, for people to want the best for each other, for people to give up resources when everybody's your fucking cousin, and if they're not, they look exactly like you.
Oh, I have something to say about that though. Remember, like 50 years ago when they tried to clear the country of all people that did not look like them? That had to make an effect on the people that actually now reside in Germany. Because I was just reading about how there's a huge fucking gap in the workforce in Japan because of all the people that died that would have been retiring soon. That all that died in World War II times. It's crazy how these big events though can affect the overall population.
Yeah, sure, but I'm more saying that when people talk about how low U.S. is on these lists, I'm just like, look at what we've done with as diverse of a population as we've done it. I can't say that's true for any other place on earth. Show me a place as diverse as America doing what we're able to do. I don't know of it. I just don't know. We have so many different cultures, people, ethnicities. Well, yeah,
I mean, that's what this was founded on, was anybody can come here. Like, this was really, America was like an escape, That's what it was founded as, was like, fuck, these motherfuckers don't understand us over here. Let's go over here. Well,
I want to praise Jesus. Let's go this way. I want to praise Hinduism. Let's go this way.
Yeah.
I want to praise Catholicism. Let's go. Every place had everyone who was trying to escape oppression came here. And we came here with the understanding that we would never do that again to each other. And that's what makes this a place so great. And that's the part that never gets measured when they talk about the U.S. And if you put a list of countries that had that, there would be a list one country long. It's ours. That's it. There's no one else on that list. It's just the U.S., which is why people call America the greatest country on the world. It's not the riches. It's not the women. It's not the resources. It's the fact that we are able to bring so many people from so many walks of life and coexist and want the best for each other. And once you get naturalized, once you have that U.S. passport, whether you're born or you immigrate legally, once you have that, I see you as American. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care your height, your weight. If you are an American, and that is unique to this country. You go to Germany and you're not German, you're never fucking German. Never. They might say you are, but you're not. But here, you can come from anywhere and become American. That is fucking sweet, man. And then that gives you immediate access to all the beauty of this country. I challenge you to find me another place on earth like that. I know for a fact one doesn't exist. That's why I love this country, man. And that's why I hope whoever wins, that this place doesn't fucking implode on itself. Because what we take for granted, because we've lived in this beautiful country for so fucking long and reaped all of its benefits, we've taken for granted how fucking fragile America is in the context of the world, in the context of history. America is a fucking anomaly. This is weird. It is abnormal. It is a blip on the radar, and it could be gone in the blink of an eye. And we got to do our best to remember how precious and fragile this thing is. And we can't just destroy it whimsically, because we may not be able to ever put this shit back together.
All right. Couple reminders. There were people here already when we got here. They're all gone now, mostly. So that was how it was originally founded, not on necessarily the best ideals.
Yeah, that's how every place is founded. People go in, they take over. That's everywhere.
Okay,
so
but
that's not unique to America.
Okay, so this is one of the countries that was founded, I don't know, last compared to a lot of the old world that's been established for a very long time. And it is the only place of its kind because it's only existed for a very short period of time compared to these other nations, like completely compared to those other nations. So maybe in those other nations, they also started out as mixed bunches long, long ago and then became this one people, which, I mean, projections are that, you know, interracial marriages and things are going to change people into one hybrid human being eventually. They were all the same. But I don't know, maybe that's how it happens. But also it's just we're such a young country, and you say like this has never been done before. It's like, yeah, it probably had been done many times before in not this successful of a way. It just didn't work. But for the longest time, this wasn't a place where anyone could come. This was a place where white people could come to get away. I mean, that's 150 years ago, 3 people ago, as Joe Rogan was said. It's not like there's not that long that we have been a country that has now all of a sudden accepted new people into our country. You know, it's a very new idea that is working currently. Yes. I understand the not wanting it to implode. I, as well, don't want it to implode. I like it very much. But you never know. We're very young in our age here. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, more so realistic of things that have happened in the history of the world. And it's just, I also have hope that other countries can be this way in the future. But it's also, we talk about like countries being set in their ways, you know, or not countries, but people being set in their ways. And we talk about older people specifically being, you know, new information is not their friend. It's more so like, I know what I know and you're not going to change my mind type thing. And our generation more so does research and comes at it from all angles, make sure we know what's going on. Well, the United States, as being so young, we're not able to, you know, we're not that far along in this. And I would hope that other countries could eventually adopt something like this, but it's still a learning experience. I mean, people are watching from the outside like, what the fuck's about to happen in America? And it's interesting just because all these other places have had such a very long time to develop and the United States has not. So it's interesting to see how their demographics match up with ours and their success rates versus ours. Because also you would say that like China is mostly Chinese people, correct?
Correct.
I mean, it's just like with the countries you mentioned, Germany. It's all mostly German people. So I mean, the populations aren't necessarily mixed in a lot of, you know, even in China there, but I don't know if that has anything to do with quality of life, because obviously Germany is way up on that list and China is not necessarily very high on that list.
If you're heterogeneous and have democratic ideas, that's when it all comes together, which is what Germany is. You're a democratic country with a bunch of people that all look alike. Man, that's the sweet spot. But where it gets difficult is when you're democratic and you have a bunch of people that look very different from each other. That's when it becomes difficult.
And it gets back to you saying things about rights that we have. Because, I mean, in this country, we, as you said, pretty much have more rights than any other country. So it also comes to that where it's like we can say more than other countries can to our government. We can have hopefully more of a say. And there are more ideas going around because this is just that place where, you know, new ideas come up, dreams are made, things are invented. That's what America is supposed to be. So it's I don't know, it's different from how other countries operate when it comes to democracies, for sure.
Yeah, for certainly, and for good reason, because we have found a sweet spot in which we can coexist with many different types of people and still want the best for each other. America is an idea that has never happened before, obviously, but the idea behind once you cross those borders and you become a citizen the legal way, I no longer see you as different. You are an American. That is a brand new fucking idea. And, you know, throughout history, I mean, we got history books. Many people have done many research on many countries and civilizations that have existed prior. And nobody has ever said that anything like America has existed before. What we're doing here is something very unique. And yes, we're young, but look at these other older nations that have had time to get their act together and try to build something like America. They have been unable to. So I don't want this to be taken lightly, is all I'm saying. That even with America's dark past, I'm not going to apologize for it. I didn't do it, nor was it done to me. And I don't know anybody who did it, nor was it done to them. So I'm not going to apologize for America's history. But America's history and what it had done is not unique to America. Now, if you told me America committed some unique atrocities that then led to it being America, then you would have some legs to stand on. I'm like, all right, we got to address that. But America did everything the way everyone has done it forever. The difference is we were one of the first to abolish slavery in the history of man. We were one of the first to go this. Even while we were still doing it, we had the knowledge to go, how am I saying everyone's equal, yet I got slaves? They still, even while they were doing it, hypocrites. You know how hard it is to realize you're doing something stupid while you're doing it? It's not till way, way after that you realize it most of the time.
Yeah,
and we had the wherewithal to say, we need to do something about this. And we were one of the first nations, I think after Britain and the UK, to completely abolish slavery. And in the world today, there's slavery still exists in a lot of the parts of the world. Oh, yeah. And we were based on our liberal ideas and principles and the idea of America. We said, if we want to stick to our guns, if we want to realize who we are, we have to rid ourselves of this curse. And we did. So America,
you say it was founded on liberal values. How does that lead into a conservative party then?
What do you mean?
Well, you're just saying the country was founded on liberal values. That's what you just
said. It was.
So how does that lead into, I mean, I guess there's people that have opposite opinions, but how does a country that was founded on liberal ideas, how does that create a conservative party, I guess?
So there's a difference, and I'm not that good at explaining this difference, but there's a difference between being a liberal and liberalism. There's a difference. You could probably look up the definition, but there's a difference. America is a liberal idea, but it doesn't mean that the people all were liberal. You see what I mean? When you find that definition and explain it, it will make more sense of what I'm trying to say. But liberalism and being liberal are two different things.
Liberalism is a political and moral philosophy based on liberty, consent of the governed, and equality before the law.
Yeah, and being a liberal.
Liberals expose a wide array of views depending on their understanding of these principles. Okay, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, everyone interprets this shit in a different way, and that's kind of what the problem is.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't because I think being a conservative, what a conservative is, people like that have existed from the dawn of time, right? And what a progressive or a liberal is, people like that have existed for the dawn of time. We're essential.
Yeah, but I associate more so conservatism as a trying to honor traditions.
Yes.
And a lot of things get very antiquated with time. That
yeah.
they no longer need, and I understand that we have amendments to the Constitution and things, but it's like there's certain things, and I think it comes a lot back to Christianity too, because you find a lot of conservative Christians, like that is a type, and that they vote with their religion, and that is their, you know, the thing I talked about, the one thing that puts them on the side of whoever. So it's I don't know, it's just weird that it tends to go that way, that religious people tend to be conservative, and conservative tends to want to do things in a traditional way.
Okay, so let me backtrack. When I say America was founded on liberalism, America was founded on Judeo-Christian values, which is, so like you said, are inherently conservative. But it was a liberal idea of what America was.
What it could be.
Oh, yes.
What it could be, yeah.
What we wanted America to be was a liberal idea, right? So, with America being founded on Judeo-Christian values, you're gonna have at the core of it a lot of conservatism, a lot of religion. You can't; those two things typically go hand in hand. Not that there aren't liberal Christians, but Christian and liberal don't usually get associated together. It's Christian and conservative, for obvious reasons, because it's very traditionalist, very prude, some may say. That's not really the word I want to use, but very by the book. And that's the basis of the foundation, is those Judeo-Christian values, which is why I over here believe in don't murder thy neighbor, and a guy in California believes the same thing. Why? Because that foundation of those Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah, but those values, I mean, that's a whole other topic, but they were not original Christian ideas. They were taken from other previous versions of religion before that. But
of course. I mean,
it's like, I just don't like people saying that morals and those types of moral ideas only come from religion. I think they are inherent human traits that anyone that is not born with psychopathic tendencies has, like empathy for your fellow human, knowing what's right from wrong. But it's also your parents' obligation to teach you that. It's not religion's obligation to teach you that. That is a life thing.
Here's where that goes out of the window. When you get to more than 150 people, yes, when you know everyone around you, it is very easy to believe in don't covet thy neighbor's wife, do not steal, do not kill. But when people are complete strangers, that flies out of the fucking window. It flies out of the window. We see it all the time. You just read a book about talking with strangers.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with like murdering strangers, like murdering your neighbor who's a stranger.
What I'm trying to say is that the odds that you don't give a fuck about the life of a stranger are more than you giving a fuck about the life of a loved one or someone you know.
Well, yes, because you don't have a developed relationship with them, but that doesn't mean that you can't still feel empathy, sympathy, and regard for other human beings. Like, I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone.
Yeah, but at some level, you don't give a fuck about everything that happens to everyone.
No, you can't. It's not possible. You're right.
Exactly.
But you're not.
But you're
not possible.
You know what helps with that? Religion. Religion fills that gap.
Yeah, it does.
That's where religion comes in.
If you have that gap.
And a lot of people do. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying.
But that's also a thing that people do as a tradition that has not changed over time, that they blindly do because someone a long time ago told them to do it. It's all faith-based and not fact-based.
What about all the people that question their faith up and down the street and yet still came back to it, which is a lot of people? What do you say about them?
What do you mean what I say about them? That they were almost out and they got back in?
No, you're saying it's all tradition. They don't know any better. What about the people that did everything to become atheists, like myself, but still went back? What is that? That
what
means
do you mean
there's something there.
To become atheist? I don't think it's that. I think you either believe in a higher power or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And then if you do, you then choose the religion that you prescribe to the most.
Well, yeah, but what I'm trying to get at though is that without an overarching glue to hold us together as people, we would result to violence. What keeps us together for the most part, what keeps us caring about the guy across the world or across the country is these fundamental values our country was founded on that have been the root and the fabric of our society. Whether you're atheist or not, you still abide by the same rules. And it's kept our fabric of our society together. And without them, we tend to dissolve into chaos.
They're not exclusive to Christian. They're not exclusive Christian rules. Because they were Christian people doesn't mean that they are Christian rules. I mean, there's literally no mention in our Constitution of anything that would say this is a wholly unsecular document.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that it had to be Christian. Christianity works and has worked. I'm not sure. I don't know if maybe Islam could have done it. I'm sure that there are other religions on which this country could have been based on, which would have acted as the glue that held us together. But there had to be that something. It couldn't have been nothing. I don't think you could have just thrown 350 million people together with no overarching moral code and said, okay, you guys are good, figure it out.
Yeah, but you don't think even at that time, and that's not that long ago, that people knew in fact that it was wrong to kill someone other than just what they heard in church?
No, we've been barbarians for a very long time. We've killed each other for the slightest indiscretion for a long time.
Yeah,
we're very tribalistic.
Yeah, but that's back in
the slightest
ancient times. I'm talking about like 200 years ago.
I don't think we were there yet, man. I mean, we were getting there, but we weren't there. But it's I think to underestimate the impact that religion has had on making and keeping this country the way it is. I think to underestimate that is it does a disservice to the impact that it made. And you read *Sapiens*. *Sapiens*, a guy, Yuval Harari, who's I don't know if he's religious. I don't think he is, but in a very critical, very explicit, unreligious breakdown, he even states in that book that the thing that allowed more than 100. Look, if it were 150 people, great. As soon as we got to 200 people, we started killing each other when we were strangers. But the thing that allowed us to overcome that 150 people barrier was religion.
And my whole point is that it is okay. Sure, maybe it was the backbone that held a lot of it together. But my whole point with it now is that those traditions haven't been checked in years, and it's not something that everyone needs to hold them together any longer. And those values weren't strictly Christian from the beginning. They were from people in the beginning. Like, they came out of a book that was passed down from word of mouth for thousands of, or a couple thousand years before the printing press even came around and they could print it, the story. So it's, I just don't think that these traditions get checked enough, and it's still a blind thing that most people follow. And the founding fathers, although being religious, they could not even agree on what religion was the correct religion. And that's the whole reason why they didn't put religious stuff in the document.
Sure.
But I mean, it's also religion. Sure, it held people together. It has started every single war in the history of the world. Every fucking one of them. And
may not have started it, but it certainly facilitated it. And I mean, people would have killed each other either way.
How many times did you hear about people trying to convert somebody to a Christian and just a fucking wars breaking out over that shit?
Not sure.
I mean, the Inquisition, a long time ago, there's been multiple Inquisitions, and that's literally Christians murdering non-believers from town to town on a warpath. And I mean, other people have done it over other religions. Obviously, we see like ISIS in the news all the time and saying it's for Islam. I mean, it's just crazy that it can be that thing that brings people together, but it can also be that thing that has caused so much tragedy for so long. Think about how many different and I tried to look it up one time. I don't remember. It's a lot. How many denominations of Christians there are. And they all think that their way is the way to worship. And the other people are not correct about their way to worship. And yes, they might have some of the fundamental similarities that, make them all have the same views on morals, but I don't think people need that anymore to make their decisions on other humans. And I think that's why there's over 50% of this country now, I think, is either agnostic or atheist.
Yeah, I would say that's because you have the unconstrained view of humanity. You believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the unconstrained view basically asserts that if it were not for the rules of man, if it were not for the things society put in place, that human beings would be perfect creatures. I, on the other hand, believe in the constrained vision of humanity.
Well, that's called but that's evolution. I think our brains developed out of that phase. I mean, yes, we're still in it, but it's in a more advanced and, we'll say, civilized way with nuking each other from fucking far away. It's not, I mean, we didn't evolve in just a physical way. It was these ideas evolved along with us, and societies developed, and people realized it was easier to live in harmony with one another than to live at war with one another. That life was better that way.
People didn't just realize that, man. That wasn't just an epiphany. That was the rules that we put in place. These were the values we held coming from religion, that people eventually, their actions lined up with that.
Yeah, and but you know why? Because there were so many wars over one side versus the other, and whoever lost then adopted those people's rules.
Well, yeah, it's sure. Like, nobody said that because religion came into place that everybody else suddenly had an epiphany, sung kumbayas, and got along. It took a lot of bloodshed to get there, just like it takes a lot of pain and heartache to get to where you want to go in life, regardless if the end is a positive one. But the fact is that we've gotten to where we want. We're getting closer to where we want to be. And I was trying to say that I believe in the constrained vision of humanity, that we are barbarians, we are animals, we kill, we rape, we pillage, and it is not but for the laws and institutions that we have put in place that keep us in check. You remove these things. You remove religion. You remove institutions. You remove police. People will resort down to their basest animal instincts and kill each other. And I can't.
But they already do that.
Well, but they do it less because of the things we've put in place.
Do they do it less?
Oh my God! I'm sure you've read. You gave me the book Enlightenment Now. How significantly everything has gotten better in the world for almost everyone on a large measure.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, like, so many more wars have been waged in the last 2 centuries than probably ever before, just because it was more easy to go to war with someone that was far away. You could fly there, and it's just. To me, I mean, yeah, quality of life for everyone has improved drastically since these quote-unquote rules were put into place, whether they be, the ones we have here or whatever in other countries. But I don't know. I would still think that a lot of people are being killed in wars all the time, and those things happen more often than they did in the past. Maybe not more often.
I would say per capita, I'm pretty sure Steven Pinker said this, but per capita, people dying in war as a per capita, obviously, per percentage of the population, is less now than it was back in the day.
There's a lot more people now, too, though.
Well, certainly, but people were being slaughtered back in the day. I mean, has America ever had a short of the Civil War? Have we had an all-out war on our soil? And how many other places?
We're talking we're 400 years old. Depends on when you count it. 1776 is probably the exact date, but I believe Jamestown was 1607, something like that. That's hundreds of years versus thousands of years that a lot of these other societies have been around.
Yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is that even in the beginning, those societies were killing each other in droves. What America has been able to accomplish, and put together so far with having a country where you could live and not have, like, how many people honestly worry right now today about a war coming to our soil?
But those people were very different. Those people that were battling back in the day, I'm assuming, and this is what we always hear anyway in history, that they're very different on both sides normally. Two different countries fighting, maybe two different races of people. Here, I don't even think we've had that chance yet. Like, I hate to say it, but states could divide up. It's weird how we are compared to other places because there's a lot of decentralization. You know, there's 50. How many states do we have? 50.
50 states.
50 states. So, I mean, it's not the same as those other countries that have had these battles against other countries at their border. Like, we're not going to war with Mexico. We're not going to war with Canada. This is just not going to happen. It's not the same by any means. And at first, there was only one kind of person allowed into this country freely for the first 200 so years. So it wasn't like we were mixing everybody up at the beginning. That's a new fucking thing. And I love it. I fucking love it. But who knows if that is when things go downhill. When all these different views come together and everyone has a voice. I don't know.
Yeah, so
talking about like what could happen after the election, you know?
Yeah, no, you might be right. When people talk about the fall of Rome, they talk about how during the peak of Rome, right before it fell, there was a lot of talk about transgenderism and whether men could be women. And it's a sign of, throughout history, it's been a sign of when an empire is about to fall, when things
that talk about transgender people.
Yeah, things that no, for real, that things that we used to take as fact all of a sudden start becoming questioned has been a sign thus far that a country is it's peaked.
That can't be nearly the most important issue though.
It's not the most important issue, but it's something that it's noticed consistently. Oh, they're starting to question whether men or women. They're starting to question objective truths.
I always look at that. It's like it's not my job to understand why another person wants to do what they do in that situation. Like,
that's not what it's about.
What? No, listen. So it's not my job to understand what they're going through in that situation. Like, I don't need to understand it. It's another thing where it just comes down to you can be whatever you want. I think it happened with the bathroom issue. That's the only time people got crazy about it was, are we going to let transgendered women that have transitioned to men, are we going to let them in the men's room? Are we going to let the opposite into the women's room? That is the only time in our country where it like peaked up. Other than that, it was just straight, we just want to be considered people. These people are harassing us. That's all I saw until that bathroom issue. That's where it ticked up for most Americans.
Sure, yes. So the issue isn't about people being able to live their life as they deem fit as adults. That's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is when you start questioning the conceptual, when you start questioning the idea that there's two types of people, genders. There's men and there's women. That's it. And when you start bringing that into question, which then
does it explode people's brains? Why does it matter?
Listen, this is why it matters. When it starts creeping into policy, when you start saying that men should be allowed to go into women's locker rooms, when little boys should go into places that are meant for little girls. Then when you start blurring those lines, when you say that convicted rapists who are men, just because they identify as a woman, can be held in women's prisons, that's when it starts becoming dangerous to the most vulnerable people in our society, which are women and children.
Is that an issue with the prisons? I haven't heard about that one.
Yes, it is.
But also, it's two different things. The prison one I haven't heard of, so I'd have to look into that. But the other ones,
look it up.
Bathrooms, it's not a fucking big deal. I've been to many a bar where there's fucking co-ed bathrooms. So many other countries have bathrooms where it's just no gender. It's just that is a bathroom. Use it. That's it. It's not a huge deal for me. It's just bathrooms. Colleges have co-ed bathrooms all the fucking time. Why is it a big deal? I think it's because people don't like seeing someone eccentric and different that challenges their brain on what they grew up on and what the norm is to them. There is no normal version of a person. I've seen men.
Yes, there is.
No, there's not. I've seen men that look almost identical to a woman. Like, and they're not trying to be, they just do. And you've seen women that could be fucking NFL linemen that are built like men. It's like, they're all different types of people in this world. Why does that choice bother anyone? It does come down to that choice. Once again, it's because, will it impact people's everyday lives? The bathroom thing, maybe, but it's like, how often is that really going to happen?
Because look, it's about I want to say it's about policy creep. Because if we're talking about allowing grown adult men and grown adult women to make their choices, that's fine. And if you're gonna have men, and the reason it's not that people not like seeing something they're uncomfortable with. Women don't like seeing a dude with a dick in their bathroom. That's one thing, right? So the other thing is that's
just a cultural thing, though. I know there's co-ed bathrooms all over the world.
I do, but those are not the norm. So that you don't want
in America, they're not the norm, but around the world.
But where are we? We're in America. So let's talk about America. And what you don't want is you don't want concept creep, right? So we know that there are children. Have you heard of rapid onset gender dysphoria?
It sounds familiar. I think I've heard of it somewhere.
So this is the phenomenon where a lot of autistic and mentally unhealthy young women are seeing the attention and respect that people who turn trans are, and then are starting to turn trans in droves. And they are turning trans at a rate that is not proportional to what is normal. So
they're following a trend.
It's a trend, right? So what's happening with this is that now these trans children who are either not trans or will grow up to be regular gay or lesbian men and women are now asking their parents to they're asking their doctors to cut off their genital mutilation.
That's a fucked up parent thing, though.
Well, asking them to put but here's where it's fucked up, because in some places, if you do not adhere, this is what will happen. So it hasn't become policy yet, but I fear it's going to happen. So what these physicians are taught is they're taught, if a child comes to you and says they want to transition, scare their parents by telling them, do you want a trans child that's alive or a straight child that's dead? So they're pressuring these parents into getting this sexual reassignment surgery
suicide?
For kids who don't know anything about anything yet. And there are already starting to be a whole host of lawsuits.
That's up to the parents, though.
It's not just the parents. The parents are going to places for their professional opinion. That's what they do. That's why you go to a doctor. And if a doctor who is a professional is telling you your kid may die or commit suicide if they don't get this sexual reassignment surgery, I'm saying, sure, parents should make a better judgment. I'm not taking that completely off the parent, but there is
second opinion.
There is a point for an institution to be able to give a professional, scientific diagnosis.
But that's on the doctors too. That's not. I don't see where the policy comes into play here.
Because, and then this is what I'm going to say. So right now, it's just pressuring parents into doing this to their children. And they're already talking about policies that state, if your child says, hey, Dad, I'm a boy and I want to be a woman, if you do not start putting him on hormones, on blockers, and taking him to sexual reassignment surgery and affirming that he is a little girl, your kid can get taken from you. That is coming down the pipe.
I don't think it is. I don't think that's going to. And
everybody says they don't think it is until it does.
It's definitely on the parents to make that decision and to tell your child that this is something you can decide when you are old enough to decide that. You are born as this gender. If you feel as the other gender, we'll talk about it when you're older type thing, because no child can make that type of decision rationally. They have none of the information, none of it whatsoever.
Of course, and you're making it sound so easy, dude. It's not that easy.
Sure, it's not that easy, but at the same time, there also have to be children that feel very different. And I have 2 people I know that have gone through this, and at least one of them talking to her about it now, they felt like this since they were a child, like their entire lives. And this was
exception to the rule.
And no, it's not. The thing is, all right, for example, there was a time when being gay was looked down upon. Couldn't come out for fear of repercussions. Then people started coming out. Then we found out there was a lot more gay people than we thought. Then we found people that started coming out earlier and earlier in life because they were able to now, and they weren't scared to do it now. So I could see that as the same situation where there are kids that do feel this way. And now that it is more mainstream, that more people are talking about it, that trans people are trying not to get persecuted against, that they now have some of the information they would not have had in the past. And therefore, that's why you're seeing more trans kids. It might not just be a trend. Like, my friends are doing this, I wanted to do it too. It literally could be how they feel. I mean, I didn't feel that way as a child, but I can't put myself there to feel that because I don't know what that would be like. But that's at least what a lot of trans people say, that, it's just like the feeling of gay, you are gay or you're not. That's not something you necessarily learn later in life. It's something you know your whole life.
So they statistically control for that. They statistically, when they did these studies, they controlled for, can it just be more awareness that is bringing more people out? And they found out that no, this is outside of that. So that's number one. And number two is they have also done studies that show almost 80% of kids that identify as trans growing up grow up to become regular gay adults. They become regular gay guys, regular lesbian women. They grow out of it, of wanting to be in the other person's body, become comfortable with their body, and just realize like, oh, I was a gay dude. I related more with females. That's why I wanted to be a female. So that's a huge, huge number. 80% grow out of it. So chances are, there's only a 20% chance that your kid gets that sexual reassignment surgery and then grows to be happy with that. Also, we know that suicide rates do not change with sexual reassignment surgery. If it was that simple, that the sexual reassignment surgery was enough to make these people go, I'm happy, I'm good, you would see a drop in suicide rates. It actually shows a slight increase. So I'm saying all of this to say that this thing is like, I've read a lot about this, not to shit on trans people and say that I respect trans people. I think they should be able to do what they want, but I think they should be able to do it as consenting adults. That's my thing. And that there should be policy that protects adults, but there shouldn't be legislation that is mandating that if your kid feels like the opposite sex, that it is incumbent upon you as a parent to do something about that.
Yeah, I'll have to
That is my fear. That is my fear that is coming down the pipe. It hasn't yet, but based on the trend of the way things are going, both in the scientific and the medical community, you would be like, oh, that's coming down the pipe, because they are advocating hard and making parents feel like shit for saying, no, yeah, my boy says he's a girl right now, but that's temporary. And they're making them feel as if they're bad parents, as if their child is going to commit suicide. That shit is not okay. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you'll have to send me a link or something about that. I haven't heard about any legislation.
If I start sending you stuff, literature on the trans shit I've read, I will say,
just pick the best one. Pick the best one.
Okay. Because, dude, I have read so much about this. The trans thing is a thing right now that, again, it's people are taking notice because it's starting to creep its way into legislation, and that means it'll start creeping its way into people's lives who respected it, but then now we're going to start fighting against it because they're trying to control their lives. That's when people get upset. People don't get upset because people living their lives, though some do, but those are the minority. People are like, dude, you want to cut your dick off at age 30? Fucking have at it. I don't give a shit. But if you wanting to do that makes you go to Congress and institute some law that forces me to make my son do that, that's when I have a problem. So I want everybody to be happy, but I don't tread on me. Don't infringe on my freedom because you have some shit that you want to do. That is where I draw the line. Be happy, be free, do what you want to be, do what you want to do, be who you want to be. But don't you ever try to legislate my participation in whatever the fuck you got going with you. Ever. I don't want no parts of that shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like they're trying to get that legislation, I don't think. This, from what I'm reading here, national firestorm on the horizon as states consider criminalizing transgender treatments for youth.
That's good. That's recent. That's recent. There's been a recent turn, and the reason that the trend, which is I'm very happy about, why the trend is starting to reverse, is that there are a ton of lawsuits being levied against these various medical institutions and practitioners of kids who now very much regret the sexual reassignment surgery because it is irreversible, and are now blaming their doctors, some even their parents, for not properly educating them and telling them the consequences of their decision and pushing them to make a decision that they would later regret.
Yeah, but this is also saying some conservative politicians want to take that decision out of the hands of doctors and parents who know these teens best and put it in the hands of the state. So it's like,
oh, fuck that. No.
That is, once again, and like I said, I'm all against people trying to tell you what you can do with your body. And if you're a child, your parents should be telling you up to a certain point what you can do with your body. But it's
correct. Up until 18 to be exact.
Well, that's an age that's not anything but just decided on as a random ass age that people mature. And you are no more mature at 18 than 17 than 16. Dude, there's people that get what is that shit called when you get the thing from your parents where you just, I'm gone, I'm like a sovereign citizen. It's not sovereign citizen, it's fuck, damn it, I know this word, but like, anyways, where you basically disown your parents because you're like, I can't do this no more with them. And people move out at 16. Like, you're allowed to do that. What about that doesn't make you an adult? Because you can buy cigarettes, vote, and serve in the military. That's an adult. It's so weird to me.
Let me rephrase that then. I have complete control over my children until they leave my fucking house.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That's what I meant to say.
Well, yeah, and
if you're 30,
until they stop taking your money too, that's also a thing.
And if you're living in my house because you're trying to save money to marry your wife or buy your house, obviously that's different. But if you're 21 years old, going to college, living in my fucking house, you're living by my fucking rules.
Simple. House makes the rules. You're right.
Yeah, bro.
House rules.
That's house rules every time.
Well, and that's why I go back to like this, where, trying to put it in the hands of the state. I don't like that. If it's no,
I don't either.
Your body, you do what you want. People take drugs so much because you tell them they can't fucking take drugs. If you made them legal, people would take them more responsibly. There would be less crime due to illegal drug sales. There would be less fucking shit about the border because of drugs if they were legalized. Canada's thinking about doing that soon, making all drugs legal.
Yeah. Portugal did it. It seemed to be a good move for them.
Yeah, it's been proven to drastically decrease overdose deaths from many different drugs. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant, man.
I don't want to be told what to do with my body or anyone that I know. I saw a good thing on Reddit the other day, and it was saying like how religion is being brought into the pro-life debate, pro-life versus pro-choice debate. And it's like, this is how religion works. You can say, I can't do this because it's against my religion. But you can't say, you can't do this because it's against my religion.
Right.
And
I like that.
That's how it seems to be going. And it's like, that shouldn't be brought into this whatsoever. You should make a choice as a human being. Like, this person might have a very bad circumstance where they need to have this abortion. And it's just like, nah, no exceptions. We're good. That's a life. You take it. Yeah. Do what you want. Yeah, and I know your stance on the, if you don't want a baby, you shouldn't have a baby type thing. But if everybody's got a different life. Bro. Yeah, and everybody's got a different life. And with self-responsibility comes that, I'm sure, very hard choice at times. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's a hard fucking choice, but you should be able to make it for your fucking self. That's my stance on it. And I know that's a big one coming into this year.
Yeah, no. And so let me make something abundantly clear. I do not believe in making abortions illegal, because we know, like you just pointed out, when you make something illegal, when you push it underground, we know what the consequences are. Women getting coat hanger abortions, women pouring bleach in themselves to have an abortion. I know what the fuck that means if you make abortions illegal. I'm not for that. But what I'm also not for is the girl going to the club, having unprotected sex with a dude, and going, no worries, I'm going to get an abortion. So we got to find a way between those two things.
Well, no.
I don't know what it is.
No, we don't. What it is there's a huge difference in people, and you're never going to get it down to that fine line, I don't think. And it definitely can't be up to anyone but that person. It just can't be. There's no way that, because that's not freedom. That's not freedom whatsoever, because you should have a choice to do what, if you can say what you want, you can do what you want to your own body.
But it's not their own body, though.
Yes, I understand that debate as well.
They're an apartment building.
But look, that debate will never go away. That will never end. There will never be an answer to, do you consider this life or do you not? And it's also an opinion-based thing. So it's like,
yes.
If you're pro-abortion, but you consider this a life, maybe you're not going to get rid of it. But if you're pro-life, wait, I got that backwards.
Yeah, no, you were on the right track.
If you're pro-choice, right? Wait, I'm all backwards here.
So if you're pro-abortion,
pro-choice.
All right, if you're pro-choice, but you still consider it a life, you might end up keeping it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're not pro-choice and you don't consider a life, you might have it aborted.
Yeah, there's too many factors that go into these, and that all big circle of life, back to the beginning of the podcast, I don't understand that one of these issues can spark someone's rage so much to be like, that one issue is the reason I'm voting for someone. It just doesn't. Like, I gotta weigh every fucking one. I can't do that. I can't do it. I didn't pick my favorite teams based on one fucking thing. No, I did, actually. I was a kid. So.
I was gonna say, bro. Almost everybody does.
Yeah, no, and you usually get them when you're a kid, and you
where
can't.
Was I born? That's my favorite team.
Lucky you. I was born in a state with no fucking pro teams. The Orioles were the closest, but I mean that was still fucking 3 hours from my house. Yeah. Just like I had to go with what I saw on TV, and that was Nomar Garciaparra on the Red Sox. So kid minds work weird.
I like. Yes,
what if you had to pick from birth like that, based on like political party? You had like a certain age you had to pick it by, kind of like
like Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, or if you don't pick, you don't get to claim either ever. Like that's how it works in sports, dude. Almost, because it's like you can't just get a team later. You can, but people are gonna be like, you're bandwagon as fuck. When did you start liking them? I never heard you talk about them 2 years ago. My dad will randomly say when the Celtics are good, he's like, yeah, I always like the Celtics. I'm like, Dad, I never hear you talk about them once till it's like the NBA finals. That's it. That's when you talk about them. I'm like, when? I never knew. I'm 30 years old. I never knew you were a Celtics fan. What the fuck?
Yeah,
this is a weird.
Yeah, like that abortion one is weird. Like, because you said, I don't want people to do it illegally and have women drinking bleach. But then again, if I'm pro personal responsibility, I'm pro the individual having these rights and the government staying out, then I can't mandate that somebody be able to tell this woman to not have an abortion. So I guess, but as a society, we have to have some baseline. So I guess it comes down to it does come down to that woman and her doctor. And you just gotta, as a society, go, that woman understands she's killing a child. Or if you don't think she's killing a child, but that is whatever decision she thinks of it as,
and
whatever decision she makes, she's going to have to live with that for the rest of her life.
Yep.
It is not an easy decision for any woman ever. And so you got to trust that
and
she's
people
can
protest the shit out of that if they want. They can protest it constantly.
You can agree that it's wrong.
Yeah, and you can stand outside the clinics and do what you want, but at the same time, it's still their choice, and you know what? It's also your freedom to protest that choice.
Yep. Sometimes you'll convince that woman walking into the abortion center. She'll come out and say, "Thank you, I didn't do it," and she'll be happy she kept her child. Sometimes you will not be able to convince that woman. It's just if you're gonna give people that choice, then I have the choice to also say, "Don't do that." Let me tell you why you shouldn't, but I can't force you either way.
Yeah.
You swayed me, man.
You
swayed me, dude.
The whole like
I'm not gonna lie.
When it comes to
you
this,
brought me around, man.
This is all we got. This
5'9.5"
frame on a good day, like that's all each of us have. So like, the less they tell me what to do with this, the better I am with whoever is in office.
This is my one caveat. My thing is I don't like when it's not considered a life. I think that's my hang up, because that clump of cells, you were that clump of cells at one point. I was that clump of cells at one point.
Sure.
Leaving that clump of cells up to its own devices will become a you. So to say that this is nothing. You better than everybody or something?
No, I'm just I'm saying sometimes. Miscarriages.
I know. But typically, leave that thing to its own devices. It will become a human being.
Yeah.
And that's what I just wish that more people, because I don't want women to say, get an abortion. Wait. I don't want people to say to women, get an abortion, it's not a life. I want them to be honest. Like, this, given normal circumstances, will be a life. Now, with that knowledge, make your decision.
I don't even think that's the problem, because you could say, fix that whole situation by saying it's not a life yet, depending on when it is in the pregnancy. Mm-hmm. The whole thing people are debating about is, when is it like
a life?
No, because it is alive, but I think they consider a life. Like, when is it finally formed into like a human looking thing, even if it's very small? I don't know, because it's not.
But is that when life begins?
They don't know. That's the thing. That's why it will never be settled. But people will debate it forever, God, and I don't get it. I'm just like, this is gonna go like this forever, for eternity.
But that's why it's so much easier to say life begins at conception, because when you put your sperm in that egg under normal circumstances, like we made the exception for miscarriages, stillbirths, etc., but barring any of that, when you inseminate that egg, you will have a baby.
But it's also your choice whether to keep that baby or not.
Correct. Now, again, that's where we have now agreed.
And I think, obviously, late-term abortions are kind of like really looked down upon. It's like, at that point, you might as well have the baby and
murder.
Just give it away. But it's like, because, I don't know how to compare it to something else, but it's because there isn't another comparison. This is the only thing like that.
Because technically, parents should be allowed to kill their kids.
No,
technically, let's think about that seriously.
Listen, once they're alive. But this,
no. We're stretching that far.
Okay.
Think it. All right. Look.
It's like my mom used to always say to me, "I brought you into this world. I can take you out." That was her. That was her favorite saying.
Thing to say. I think my dad said that to me all the time, and here's why: if you're the dad or the mother raising Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer, aren't you doing the world a disservice?
Once you find out,
if you're like, this kid
once you find out, that kid needs to have an accident.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember did you watch Walking Dead at one point, right? Did you ever watch it? There was a point, it was pretty early on, but like they were on the move, I think after the prison part, and there were two little girls, and one of the little girls stabbed her sister to death, her younger sister, thinking, oh, she'll be okay. They all come back to life. And they were like, oh, fuck. We already see this in this girl who's like 10 years old, she doesn't understand killing, and that she could easily kill any of us in our sleep at night. Like, something has to be done about this child. And they shot her in the back of the head. It was a mice and men type moment. Like, look over there. Isn't it so nice and beautiful? Keep looking at the flowers.
But you don't think they did that in old times when you had a child?
In Rome, was it Rome? Yeah, it was definitely like Sparta. They would punt babies off of cliffs if they deemed them, like if they came out with maybe like Down syndrome, if they were too weak, if they just didn't look like they were going to be a strong baby. Like, it's just like, this shit has been done for a long time, a long time. But also, I don't think I don't want to look this up because this would be real nasty to look at. But I don't know when the first abortion was done. But I hope it wasn't done a really long time ago. I hope this is something we just found out about because, it would be bad. Whatever they did probably killed the woman half the time. As I said, I don't want to think about specifics. There's too many things going through my head.
But the more I think about this topic, I don't know why this conversation is making me see it differently. But like Louis C.K., like this is why he is who he is, the genius of him. And in that bit where he says people think they're killing babies, and he's like, you know what? Women should be allowed to kill babies. And I think I've come to the same conclusion. Women should have that choice. But as long as they know they're killing babies. But that choice is theirs.
But look, how are you talking about after birth?
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll bring into a thing. Like if that became the norm, we'd be talking about, okay, well, what age do they stop becoming a baby? Can you just be like, man, my adult son really disappointed me. I'm taking him out. I told him one day he better become something by the time he's 37. He's 37. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like he really annoys you one day and he's like, I don't know, 13. He just became a teenager. Is that the time you take him out? Like, then there would be the debate on, well, no, not after they start walking or speaking or whatever it is. It will never be enough. It will always be that line where it's Of course. Not, no one's going to always be happy. And I always realized this under Obama's second administration when I was just getting off of Facebook and I was just like, man, no matter what side you're on, the other side that didn't win is going to complain for 4 years. And then somebody else is going to win. And that side's going to complain for 4 years. And it's just, that's how it goes. It's the circle of politics. And it's like half the shit's not going to be happy. Half of them are going to be happy. And it's a win, lose, draw situation. I feel like it all depends on what happens during that 4 years. And it takes so fucking long for those things to play out that one way or another, people are going to overreact tomorrow, and I just hope it's not as bad as my brain is pumping it up to be.
Yeah. And let me clarify for those who are listening. I'm joking about women killing 10-year-olds.
Yeah, if you're listening and you didn't get that, oh God, read a book. I don't know.
I'm joking about it.
These are jokes.
But I will say you have brought me to a place that I wasn't previously. And this is the beauty. This is why I love doing this podcast
for sure,
talking to people, because I want my mind to be changed.
Yep.
And I think my mind has changed that like women, and I think also men should have a say in the decision. But if a woman and a man together, and I think because a woman doesn't have the child without a man, you know, like that's
agreed. Agreed. You know? But that's that's on a very, very minute level of someone telling you what to do with your own body. Still,
no, but I don't think the man should say either way. I think it should be a joint decision that so a man and a woman get together. Now, what happens if the man wants it?
I don't know if I'll ever see that portrayed in any type of media or in real life, that the woman even ever gives a fuck what that man thinks about whether she should keep it or not. Well, I mean, maybe have the like, are you going to stay around if we have it conversation? But other than that, it's, you know, it's ultimately she's got to have the operation. She's got to make the choice. Like most of the time, if you're conscious, other people don't elect surgery for you. Like,
right? No,
you can't just sign somebody else up for surgery.
I'm talking about the decision to get or not to get an abortion should be a tandem thing.
Oh, in a healthy relationship, sure.
Yeah, it should not be.
I feel like if you're having an abortion, this is not coming from a healthy relationship normally.
Oh, yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does.
Not ready to have a kid type thing?
Yeah. Two young kids.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That shit happens all the time. But no, I've definitely reached a place where, again, though, it's confusing, right? It should, to me, the topic of abortion should be a case-to-case basis. It should be. It should be a case-by-case basis.
But you have to have a definitive ruling one way or another on whether it's legal or not. It can't be case by case. Like we'll look at your case and get back to you in a few weeks on whether we determine you can have an abortion or not. Definitely not going to be.
I did not mean on the legality of it. It should be legal because you don't. Again, I said it 1,000 times. You don't want.
But I get what you're saying. Your personal opinion on it is that only in extenuating circumstances should it be used, not just for we fucked up and got pregnant.
Yes.
Gotcha. No, and I agree. That comes down to values, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's not a bad value to have.
Yeah, it's a sticky thing, and
I was talking to a guy at my sister's wedding that told me he had 3 abortions. Not him, obviously, but 3. Yeah, and he's married now, and he's about to have a kid with his wife. But this is, way early on, wasted, early 20s type thing, and 3 different times. I was like,
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, and the point is to never get. I guess,
but I don't know. He didn't go into if that was his decision or if he had to say. I don't know.
Right, but the moral of this conversation, though, is that I think something we both can agree is that abortion is the last thing.
Well, yeah,
it shouldn't be the first thing that you talk about. Well, I'm going to go out tonight. If I get pregnant, well, I'm not really going to think about it too much because I can get an abortion. The point is to create a society where people are making more informed decisions on the front end, where the idea of an abortion becomes a moot point. That's the goal, I think. Where that conversation about an abortion is such a tiny, tiny piece of it, because we have a society in which men and women are making better judgments in the pregame prior to ever putting themselves in a position where that conversation about an abortion ever needs to be had.
It actually said the amount of abortions fell from 2015 to 2016 by 2%. 11.6 abortions per 1,000 women. So it's a small percentage.
Yeah.
Very small.
Yeah.
And most babies are born.
Yes. The goal is to make it smaller, not by saying you shouldn't do it, but again, by creating a better society, because a better society means less abortions, because that means more men and women having babies when they want them.
But that also brings up that having babies when they want them could also be better for the child overall, being able to raise it in a good environment where it's a steady home with actual money coming in. But this is pretty interesting. 91%, this is in 2016. I didn't find anything else, but 2016, 91% of abortions were performed under 13 weeks. So very early on. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1.2% were performed after 21 weeks.
No, and I think the way conservatives frame it, they frame it as and then the way liberals act sometimes is conservatives frame it as liberals want to get an abortion. Like they want to fuck just so they can get an abortion.
Yeah.
And liberals sometimes act that way. They do. They're like,
I don't get that.
Woo!
I know.
Let's get them. And that's what makes the conversation so tough. Because when you're looking at it from both of those perspectives, it's hard to get on either side of those things.
Yeah, it is. That's once again why I don't get politics, because I can't ever get all with anybody. I just can't, and I hate that there's only 2 choices. It's just but hey, happy election night. We're probably not going to be watching a ton of coverage of it because with the mail-in stuff, they're not gonna know tonight. Like normal elections. So. Yeah, it's going to at least take a day or more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the maximum amount of it can take is 79 days. That's the maximum amount until the next. Yeah. The inauguration.
Oh,
so it could take 79 days.
Let's take a quick turn real quick. This has been going on. This is a long one. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Shit.
But real quick, I finally finished the Alex Jones episode of Joe Rogan. And I just have to say, I've been saying this to some of my other friends who dismiss the shit out of him. And it's just like, yes, there are conspiracy theories, but when they have some fact to them, those are theories, And if they are true, those are conspiracies. Like those are actual conspiracies. The word conspiracy means an actual plot, a secret plot of some kind. God damn, if they didn't check this man on every fucking one of them. I mean, hard as shit to get him to stop talking over people.
Yes,
there was one part I meant to text you about the other day because I got to it, and Joe was just like, it's so hard to have a conversation with you. And I was just like, God damn. But apparently they're doing something tonight, and he said he was inviting Alex Jones back for it. I was like, is that going to be live? I would like to watch that.
I think they said
I just
want to
hear. I gotta hear Alex Jones talk about more conspiracy theories.
Matter of fact, let me check the app.
And now Joe's not sober anymore because obviously Alex Jones was drinking during that. They kept calling it apple juice, but
I think the reason Joe was so like
fact check.
Is because he wasn't drunk.
Well, yeah, that and the Spotify thing. Because they now more than ever, he can't let someone like that come on and spout things off without fact checking them, whether it's in real time or after the episode, because he's under too much scrutiny now with that deal with people not wanting him to have people like Alex Jones on. But I mean, I sent you that thing from the French president today. It's just like, I don't give a fuck who you are. You can spout your ideas. It's not up to you whether people believe those ideas. It's up to them if they believe them. If they're stupid enough to believe in some crazy ass theory, the earth is flat type shit, that's their prerogative. Go ahead. That's not hurting anything other than making a very big group of people stupid. But it just it doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute with me.
Yeah, man.
But it's I'm excited to hear his theories because he's.
It's gonna be fantastic.
He's so out
there. They're gonna be all blasted.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. We covered some great things without really talking about the two candidates, which was awesome because I don't give a fuck about talking about them anymore.
I don't want to talk about that.
Talking about them so much over the course of the year, or I haven't talked about them, but I've heard so much talk about them, so I don't need it anymore. But if anyone's still listening, you'll probably hear this after the election. Hope you voted, and I don't know. Yeah. Enjoy the outcome. Be safe. Yeah. Shit might be wild.
And stay sane, no matter who won. Don't use that as an excuse to hurt, harm yourself, others, or damage property. This is still the greatest country in the world, and in order to keep it that way, you got to be able to lose and take it like a man.
Yep. And I'll be shooting you links, I'm sure, of the wild shit I see on Reddit over the next couple days. Especially because they get right up in there somehow. They got the best angles of all the wild shit happening.
If anything happens, I'm hunkering down and not coming out for a month.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 39. We'll catch you guys next time.
Yep. And we out.
Is this what they call the abyss? I fought and clawed for an inch, turning a miracle mile. I could recall when your lips used to contort into smiles, bright as the sun that's drawn in eclipse. I haven't seen light in a while, hasn't been bright in a while.